there you have it. The death of my career as a streamer. He had the audacity to go live on YouTube, and it all went downhill from there. All right, I think I'm ready to go. I'm moderately awake. I'm not really that awake. The desk is clean. I really shouldn't have slapped my hand down like that because there are micro crystals of plastic all over the desk from yesterday. I wiped it off. I hopefully got all of them, but there's probably a couple more just hiding in the wings, just waiting for their chance to strike. So through the AutoCAD Creators program, I got this 3D connection mouse, and I've been using it for a little while, and it's got a good weight to it. The plastic's pretty good. I don't think, so far so good. I haven't worn like a thumbprint into the side here like I did with my SteelSeries mice. In terms of like, I mean, if I was a more professional engineer and I was traveling around with my CAD program on a laptop, this thing would be awesome because it's got a power switch on the bottom and it's wireless, and I don't know about battery life because I just like leave this computer for long amounts of time. If you think you need the space puck in order to look at and do CAD, you do not. CAD programs have pretty good cameras. I could see this being very useful for Blender, where the camera is a little bit more unbridled. Fusion 360 has a really good like rotating camera thing that focuses on where your mouse is and stuff. It does a really good job of being like this subtle background process that you don't really notice. You don't notice it until you use a program like Blender, where the camera is a little bit less handholdy and a little bit less sort of in the background. And so suddenly you're like, I can't view this thing. I need to zoom way in, and now it thinks I'm viewing something really, really far up close, but I'm actually working on something behind it. So this would be useful there because this just gives you a full 6 degrees of freedom control so that you can manipulate your camera and just sort of breeze through drawings. With Fusion and the Puck mouse, I mean, I've owned one previously and it collected dust as much as this one is. I will put this to the side and maybe we'll use it at some point, but for right now, when I boot up that program, I don't need to do anything other than use the mouse to move stuff around. So that's been my experience with the 3D Connection hardware. I love that they sent me this stuff though. If you were doing architectural renderings, this is a really good tool because with some subtle control, you can just slowly walk through like a space and get a good feel for it. Kerbal Space Program, this thing was indispensable for putting struts inside of objects. You could fly into the objects, put struts inside, and it would keep your whole thing from rattling itself into pieces. Hopefully they have the 3D connection for Kitten Space Program, since Kerbal 2 was just a wet fart. I hate that happened. It was such a good Kerbal Space Program, such a good game, taught so many people orbital mechanics, ushered in a whole era of engineering and engineers to sort of pursue the stuff they learned in that game a little more, get to know it a little bit better. And then when they went to make a second one, they just kind of whizzed it down their leg and disassembled the company that was making it. This is just bad. This is just bad. Why is this sitting in the wheel well? Either I need to lift the body a little bit more. I mean, it looks fine when it's up like this, but when it's on the ground, I'm noticing that this is rubbing. Perhaps just barely, but it really shouldn't be. Maybe I need to tension the springs a little bit more because they seem to be doing nothing anyway. On 1/24th scale, the mechanics of having springs is debatable. Which way? That way in, this way out. Oh, no, and then I just folded the shock in half. Nope. Ugh. Okay. These can get disoriented and pop out. There we go. Wait. Yeah, that's going to go that way. This is going to go this way. Okay. Yeah, see, this one's all the way at the bottom. This is the RC car project. This is another AutoCAD marvel where I took a low poly, what was it called again? Lancia from the 70s. Somebody made a low poly model of it on Thingiverse, and then I sort of bridged the arches and made a solid on the bottom of it, used AutoCAD to hollow out the inside, and then cut the wheel wells from it, and that created sort of a thin, hollow body that I could print, and then put on top of my 1/24th scale car body using these little magnet connectors, 3-pin magnet connectors. So the body will just snap on now, and since it's stabilized in 2 directions, so it shouldn't pop off unless I crash. And then, yeah, I got this cool body, and then I've also got wiring connections to the top. I'm gonna probably print this in semi-clear, the smoked color, and then I'll be able to paint the body on and have the windshield be clear, as well as the lights and stuff be clear. And then we can maybe glue some lights behind them, and then I can use the channels of my radio in order to turn on and off lights. It's so nerdy. It's so nerdy. What's up, Amazon? Amazonian Walrus. Yeah, anyway, put this aside. I love that RC car. It's a lot of fun. But I don't go outside and race it around because I'm this giant beach ball of a person with my silly little kid's toy. It's a look. The neighborhood here has also been way too hectic. There are people mad at each other. There's been roofers on 2 houses in this block this week, working at a feverish pace. They do their job so fast. It's incredible. But they did 2 roofs in 2 days. Insane. Actually, the one took a little longer because they had to do gutters as well. And then we had garbage collection, and the landscaping people were here. It was nuts. That was yesterday. That was yesterday that all that happened. And then neighbors getting into arguments over whether or not their dog trode soil onto their driveway, when the soil had just been hastily put down and was all over the place anyway. You know, people. Okay, you know what? 7 is the best. 7 is like a pressurized. It really does kind of rock out of the gate pretty hard. Clips leaderboard. Mahalo is the new top clicker at 5 views. Ugh, God. We do not get. When did Code Rush? Oh yeah, I thanked them when they rated. I remember that. Sorry, looking at the Twitch page that tells me the recap of all the stuff that's been happening. Yeah, we're gonna have a quiet Friday. We're gonna do it low key and just do some CAD design today. I didn't really sleep last night, so I'm feeling it, and so we're just gonna sit here and do stuff that I know how to do, which is rearrange 3D models until they all break. If anybody doesn't know, I have 27 people here, so they probably all do know that I have a machine that is powered off of channel points, and it emits one of 9 fart noises using channel points. And then this is just my general indicator light. If you say the word idea in chat, this will light up. If you sub or gift a sub, it does different things as well. It's just generally a warning light for me. Eventually, we got to figure out how to get TrueNAS to talk to Node-RED and give me the smart status of my drives in my file server. So if anything goes wrong, I can get a red light from it. What's up, Flatulent Gonad? I was watching Gonad earlier, playing Musamarakur. I love the cats instead of the politicians on the gambling machine in Fleetari's, not Fleetari's, in the shop. Yeah, the cats were great. I would have used different cat memes, but it's a beautiful thing. Cause like I don't know who those politicians are. I also Topless Gun I think was streaming earlier. I think he was streaming today, or at least that's what somebody in my Discord said. Let me check to see if he's on my Twitch list here. Let me mute my own stream. Is that, yeah, that's Topless. I think I am subbed to that. Let me just double check to see if it's on any of the. Oh yeah, there it is, offline. It's the second on my list. Testlington was before it. Oh, he's not saving videos. That like feels free to me. It sounds so freeing, not recording every single millisecond that you stream. Bench looks squeaky clean. I know something's wrong. Something's wrong here. Here, let's do this. This is what we'll work on next. There. There we go. That's a little better. I don't keep videos either. It sounds so freeing, and maybe one day I'll do that, but I record everything. I have everything going all at once, and then I'm also sending it to YouTube, so you snooze, you lose, you gotta be there live. I have a lot of people that enjoy the VODs, and it's also a way that you can hit pause when I'm, you know, masochistically, that's the manically, when I masochistically bite down on the ball and, manically talk very quickly about something. You can fact check me by hitting pause and then unpause and then pause again. The thing is though, it fills up drives. I've got a 6 terabyte drive in this computer, and I think it's 75% full of my dumbass talking to the furniture. I didn't have, sorry, I totally misrepresented you by not being able to talk words that I'm reading at the same time. I had a nightmare cleaning up glass shards last night. The mirror stream scarred me. I brushed the desktop surface today and felt little prickliness things going on. So we just Windexed and paper toweled everything off. It should be pretty clear of shards today. It's just the little nooks and crannies I gotta be careful of. I apologize about the trauma, but when you're out here in the mines like I am, trying to mine views and being an EF boy, you gotta do some stuff that'll shock you. Shock your audience. Shockma. Shocking audiences everywhere. Shockma. Anyway, yeah, so you gotta do stuff that's a little bit crazy. A little bit crazy. I can't be a choir boy the whole time. We're going to be doing computer work today, so I won't really need to use the desk. So the desk can be clear for mouse room. For mousing. Well, I'm a little ticked off about that mirror because it was an expensive mirror and mostly it was well made. Mostly that mirror was really well made. Just one little thing, maybe they wanted to drop just a little bit of glue down to that joint so that instead of allowing the rod to not spin, it would be locked in with the force of friction of the glue that they drop in. That would have been a good thing. And it's possible when the mirror was new, if I had taken the hot glue gun and just gave it a little spurts, I could have locked down that shaft. There was no way that I could know that that shaft was spinning with everything. The problem is that shaft is supposed to be locked in, but there's a silicon sleeve around part of it, and it just wasn't holding on to it. If it was, that thing would have lasted a really long time. Those LED lights do not go bad. At least within our attention span for products. So it really ticks me off that they didn't get this one little detail right. I mean, the controls are solid. These switches probably would have been the first thing that would break, and they're not even that used all that often. It feels like these should have been touch buttons as well. Maybe they decided that was less costly because this thing could probably handle a couple more channels. The circuit board was made by the company that made the lamp too. And it's a clean little piece of design. This thing is a cleanly designed board. It doesn't even use vias. Look at that. Crazy. Oh no, there's a couple vias to get ground. Okay, so that's how they get ground around to everybody. Oh, that's why there's so there's a via right there, right by the ground pin that this thing is switching to. Okay, that makes more sense. Well, anyway, it seems like they could have had maybe one other touch control on this thing. And if they had one other touch control, that one could have switched it to the different, because you'd put one more transistor on here, one more MOSFET, and then have one more touch control, and then it could bring you through the modes. Shame. 'Tis a shame. Zadro. Yeah, I've got all the bad luck. It wasn't, you know what? That was a sticker. It wasn't a mirror. That was a sticker. Yeah, I'm gonna get like no viewers today because of my bad luck streak. I'm really ticked off at that lamp though, because yeah, if they just the one little detail, like the thing that they literally designed that entire mechanism to avoid happened because they decided or skipped something or didn't do something quite right. Somehow that what was supposed to be fixed shaft was unfixed, and so when you twist the mirror, it would bend the wire, and that ended up in the wire not conducting. It broke the wire eventually over the course of 2 years of flipping it back and forth to do makeup. And it shouldn't have. It should have lasted so much longer. If these buttons, which would be the thing that would break if they corrected the error that we had, these buttons, if they could be avoided, then the thing would probably last much longer. And if these buttons did in fact break, I could have replaced them. But that mirror section itself is glued together, and so getting into that joint, which I could have fixed if I was able to get behind the glass. If I was able to get behind the glass without it breaking, I could have gotten in there and actually fixed the error, or just soldered a new wire on and perpetuated the error into the future. But the two halves of that mirror were glued together. It was a glue that was along a long piece, and so unless I was able to get something really thin in there and saw away the glue, pulling it apart wasn't going to happen because of the all of the surface area of that glue. Sad. It's sad. It makes me sad. Yeah, we'll come to this thing eventually, the Raspberry Pi. We'll do some LED stuff with the Ras Pi. I need to do a little research on that, so that'll be Monday, or Tuesday rather, we'll get to that. And then in the meantime, I may do some tuning of synthesizers over the weekend. See if I can't get like one channel of a synthesizer to actually work. If I can get from the MIDI output to a VCO to something that does ADSR and then a filter. And that is a synthesizer. So I will declare synthesizer having been built after 3 years of noodling around with this stuff. Mostly fixing friends' modules for their synthesizers, but you know how it is. And then I can probably throw in some of the like digital modules in order to do weird control and stuff. But the real goal of the synthesizer thing is to make sure that these modules that I've built work. Because even from the first one that I completed, the Marbles, there were errors in the soldering all throughout the entire thing. And it was my fault, and the thing didn't work properly. It wasn't the life of the machine coming out. It was the mistakes of the creator seeing the light, basically. I still don't think the MIDI thing fully functions. I think there's like a control port that just doesn't... Like the yellow LEDs don't do anything. I think the yellow LEDs are supposed to do something. Do I still have that schematic up? I don't think I do. Now, has chat been showing up on... Hold on one sec. Oh, and I need to pop out YouTube. Okay, that works. Let's take a look at why is there lag in the video. Oh, bother VOD. Let's pull that chat up. I forgot to do that. We're having a wall stream. Pop out chat. Close that there. There we go. All right, those folks will show up. Those dudes. Do that. Okay. Hashtag AutoCAD ad. Let's open up the file. Admin project. No, it's actually outside of admin. I need to reorganize all this stuff, but computer projects has a lot of things in there. GrabCAD is dangerous. The website GrabCAD, which is the huge library of oftentimes AutoCAD parts and stuff. Like if you need something to base your model from, it's kind of incredible how easy it is to find somebody else's working model. In fact, I was watching this fellow Superfast Matt on YouTube, a California native who I believe worked at Tesla as an engineer and does some crazy electric car projects. And I was looking at all the stuff that he was doing. It was, wow, he's 3D scanning a Tesla motor to put into a car. And then I went to GrabCAD and I went to the library and I looked up Tesla motor. He put his scan on GradCAD, and you can just download it. So I took a model of a toy 944 because I eventually want to do this project, and see, just to see whether or not it fits, and it does. It was kind of crazy. Is that in here? Yeah. I just made a test program for this because I couldn't get it out of my head. I couldn't get this project out of my head. So I know, isn't that awesome that he just uploaded it straight up to the GradCAD. So now I have his files. It's crazy. I don't know what this mix is. This is just a rando mix. So you can find all of the like Model S and the Model whatever. Look at all the batteries that I got to fit in. And then these are from the, this is from the, whatever it is, whatever model that is. This is the full battery pack, and these are the individual cells split off. And I was seeing whether or not I could fit in the transaxle tunnel all the battery stuff. Because in the 944, it's hard to see because I've made it clear, but you can kind of see here, there's the stick shift there in between the two seats. You sort of sit next to the transaxle. We can totally build this with only just a few brackets that I can design in CAD. I would want to have my own scans of the 944 because there is a fuel tank and a transaxle that you get rid of back here. So I know, wouldn't this be, this is my dream project, and of course it wouldn't be, I would not use the turbo because I don't like the smooth front of the turbo. I like the blocky 944. And then the pièce de résistance, the entire point of doing the project in general is, you see where the stick shift is over there? I actually have stick shift from a BMW E46M. Hold on, M, what is it again? M4? I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, I would obviously want to put a new bobble on the top, but this thing is literally just, oh my God, it's a collector of dust and dog hair. Holy crap. Anyway, this thing has all the feel of a regular like car shifter, but it is an electrical appliance that you staple down to something. So I could staple this down to something, and this could do all of the, what is it, the reverse and neutral stuff. So reverse is this is neutral, and then drive, and then you can shift up and shift down. I don't know what I do with shift up and shift down, but having just a lever would at least make it so that the hole in the middle of the tunnel here wouldn't be so prominent. This big hole where you would put stuff. But yeah, I was wondering if I could fit the entirety, because this car is infamous for having a 50-50 weight ratio, which is not necessarily what you want. You might want a weight ratio that's a little bit ahead of that. What I originally did with the car that I had many, many years ago, it was over a decade ago, is pull the motor out and put in an LS1. The LS1 is a little bit heavier than the Audi motor that is already in this car. The Audi motor is, the motor in the 944, the regular old 944, is notorious because it's an interference motor, which means that the valves and the pistons share space. Hold on, I'm going to hiccup my way through this. The valves and the pistons share space. Typically, in an interference motor, you would have a timing chain. Timing chains are a million more times reliable than a timing belt. But because it's an Audi design, I don't know why they did it, they had a timing belt that would stretch, it would break, and if it broke and your car was moving, it wasn't going to move again until you put a new motor in there. So these things, basically from the factory, you probably want to plan on changing that timing belt. It's just one of the things about these. And so for a while, it was easy to find them real stupid cheap. I got my original burgundy one from a kid at Delaware College, college in Delaware, I forget which one it was. Anyway, it might have been Delaware Community College. And there was a big old dent in one of the fenders that looked suspiciously like they may have been doing burnouts in a parking lot and hit one of the light posts. But as soon as one of those belts goes, the whole motor goes, and so you could find these without a motor, which makes swapping in an LS1 less like you're destroying a beautiful work of art and more like you are retrofitting something awesome. But yeah, the transaxle would then, under the additional power of the LS1, the transaxle would twist its axles and destroy your drag racing events. But the 50-50 weight ratio is only a little tiny bit vandalized by putting such a big motor in there. Now, when you convert something into electric, you don't need the motors, you don't need the exhaust, you don't need the transmission, you don't need the transaxle, you don't need the transmission, you don't need the fuel tank, you don't need any of the stuff. There's still stuff that makes a car that you still need, but getting rid of all of that, I don't know what would happen to the weight ratio of this. So I'd probably have to do the super fast mat conversion of those wheel trolleys, the car wheel trolleys, into a scale in order to get a rough idea, because that would inform where you'd want to mount everything. Now, Short Lurker did find a video when I was in the throes of having the bug up my butt about this project, because it just gets in you, right? And I can't stop thinking about this project. One of the things that Short Lurker found was somebody else has done an electric conversion on a 944, and they preserved the 50-50 weight ratio, but they did it by stuffing batteries under the hood and where the fuel tank was. This unit weighs about 300 pounds, and the batteries weigh roughly the same. So getting that weight ratio back, I wouldn't want to hang weight in front of the axle. I would love to put it more centrally, and so I was just kind of exploring that with this. But I mean, nothing replaces actually having a scan of the hardware. This model is a toy that I scaled up to be rough proportions. But anyway, you know, you take the transaxle out of there and you've still got all the stuff to mount the transaxle. So you've got some pretty good mounting points that you could then maybe made up with the mounting points of the Tesla power plant here. Even cooler if you could make it all-wheel drive with 2 motors, but I don't think that's in the budget or in the possibilities, because then you have to alter the McPherson struts, which I don't really want to mess with. I'd rather it still be a 944 just electric. I think that would be such a cool project. And the other thing that people are doing with these is they're getting rid of the pop-up headlights. I don't know if I'd want to do that or not. I would definitely want to make them LED lamps, but to have them, like, maybe even just have them pop up only a little bit. They just go like that, and then there would be, you know, the powerful LEDs behind it. Or, because it's a big heavy motor that lifts these, the thing about the 944 is those will always be in sync because there's a bar in between the two. And I saw some of the people modifying for the Chevy engine, because the Chevy intake is up in the middle of the motor, like up in the front in the middle of the motor, that bar gets in the way. So they get 2 of the headlight motors and put them in there, and then your headlights can be out of sync. But one thing that they were doing with these is putting a sheet of acrylic in the headlight area and then having like regular car headlights behind it, like smaller, more compact car lights right behind it. I know a lot about the 944 because I used to have one. Typically in a worn up 944, you'll have a hole right here, which can lead to a hole that goes straight into the fender, because water cascades down the front of the windshield and it gets into a battery tray, where the Germans said, well, but this plastic thing that we put on it will never be, that'll be fine. It won't wear or get worn or get displaced in any way. And so water comes down here and it gets into the battery tray, and then crud gets into the drain tube for the battery tray, and then you have a slurry of battery acid and water, and it very quickly will rust through to the fender. Very obnoxious problem. But, you know, electric conversion, battery could be somewhere else. Anyway, this is like one thing that AutoCAD let me do, is go on GrabCAD, find a model of a 944, albeit a toy, scale it up, and then find a literal YouTuber's scan, super fast Matt's scan of the 944, of the Tesla power plant, and just let me do a little theory crafting and idea crafting to see what is possible. Obviously, so the Tesla battery is 4 of these things. So I could put 2 of them in the tunnel, maybe. If I were to really utilize that tunnel, I would definitely need a scan of it, because obviously this is just meant to look a lot like a 944. That'd be really super cool to do. I would really love to do that project one day. Oh well, I don't have my Bitcoin. I can't afford it. Let's close that, as it eats up all the memory of this computer. We've got some pretty sizable models that we got to open up in this thing. Yeah, these are the different batteries. Totally crazy. All right, I'm gonna get start soon out of here. We'll have more time streaming today, because we're theory crafting, and we're gonna be initiating some 3D prints of things. Let's pause that. Hello, welcome. How is everybody doing today? Welcome to Oh Bother, Twitch TV Oh Bother. I should apply for the front page every now and then. I think I'm going to start doing that. We're working at this shop on building cool stuff. And the thing that I want to build eventually is a board on my wall. It's sitting behind me that will burn the name of subscribers onto itself using a blue laser. I've already had 2 of these boards. We've filled them up with names. Eventually, we're going to be working towards getting the 3rd iteration of this project up and running. We're slowly developing Raspberry Pi stuff that's going to help me modernize the project a little bit and maybe make it a little bit more convenient for me, and possibly have more powerful bad word filters. Because the art behind this project is me spending all of this time and effort and care and love and, you know, smartness, and cashing all that in so that you guys can petulantly try to find the most vulgar Twitch name that got by the censors and have it burnt elegantly with a robot, an advanced modern robot, to burn Poopsucker 5000 onto a fine block of live edge board. I love that. I love that about that project. Anyway, we're not working on Burn the Subs today. That's just sort of the flagship of the stream. That's what those are the words I was looking for. Writing is hard. That's the cat and mouse, the cat and also cat game that we live out for here. Yes. Yes, indeed. So anyway, we're not working on that today. Why did he explain it if we're not working on it? We're not working on that today. What we're working on right now is theory crafting. I would like, so I put all the stuff in my shop up on the wall, and I bought a big pack of these, what are called wall control boards. Wall control boards they go up on the wall and they've got these special little hooks that you can put into them. It's just a pegboard. It's just a metal pegboard. They were cheap enough. I put them all together and I made this corner hold just about all of my tools, all the big tools that I have sort of taking up all of these drawers around here, right? I'm still completely inundated with project parts and tools. Don't get that wrong. It's still a game of cat and mouse just to keep this place organized. But I put those things up on the wall, and then I didn't have any room for any more. And I have a couple of these panels left over. We did a whole saga, and that's the thumbnail, the YouTube thumbnail of this video, did a whole saga of making a really weird water-cooled computer. And the way that I did that was by using what's called MakerBeam. I used MakerBeam and 3D prints and a hexagonal grating in order to make this weird-looking computer that was like completely water-cooled. I didn't do much in terms of making sure that there was something at the highest height of the computer to catch bubbles. And so bubbles got caught in weird places in the computer, and then the fans would start spooling up, and I'd have to take it up and do the whole like lawnmower man, like tilt it in every direction thing. I want to stop doing that. And also I don't need my computer to be like a compact little brick anymore. It doesn't need to be that anymore, because I got one of those handheld things, so I can take that over to the LAN parties and still play games with my friends, sometimes remoting into my gaming computer. So now that I can do that, we can wall mount this thing, and I've got this leftover pegboard thing sitting over there on the desk. That little tiny reservoir I want to put at the highest height of where water is going to be, and then I kind of want to spread out, and that's a kilowatt power supply. So that kilowatt power supply is going to be well, it's going to be the thing that makes my computer work a little better. Traditionally, I built my own power supply because you can get a little car converter PSU that takes 12 volts in. And if you put that on the motherboard, that means that all the major players in the computer are working off of 12 volts. And so I built an extremely compact 12 volt power supply for the gaming computer. That in and of itself is an extremely large project. I just think about it and my brain shuts off. I kind of planned out the circuit board a little bit using AutoCAD, and it didn't really come to fruition. So I just bought a 750 watt power supply for the temporary computer that we built that became permanent, and I had to disable a bunch of features on the graphics card and the processor so that it would stay under 750 watts. My computer is still liable to do random restarts at weird times, and I don't know if that's static electricity or if that is in fact the features that I disabled. It's bad. We could make it better. I can re-enable those features if I put in the kilowatt power supply sitting over there. So that's what I want to do as well. I have a hunch that hanging my gaming PC on the wall will do better as a title. Meh. Whatever. This is fine. Unless the old... I forgot to hit OK on Twitch, but this is fine. Anyway, so I got to figure out how we're going to mount stuff to this board. Now, all the little slots for the wall are going to be in the other orientation. I'm going to do this horizontally. We're not going to make like a... I mean, vertical would be pretty funny, but I want to do this horizontally. The first thing that I need is basically that wall control panel in CAD. Now, I did a little bit of homework, and I actually have that. I also figured out, and this is just recently, I went and bought a thing. I bought a thing. Yeah, you know, title crafting with Twitch, you would think that more people were paying attention to titles than they actually are, because one of the advertisers that tried to get me to enter their program and give them all of my Twitch credentials, which never do that, they were talking about actually studying the effect of the title on the stream. So I think there is some effort to like figure out what punchy titles are for some streamers. This is a RivNut tool. This is an overly gigantic thing. What it does, what's up, Dutch Mania? Nothing's more permanent than temporary solution. The red-green quote is, remember, this is only temporary unless it works, in which case it's permanent. So these are rivet nuts. These rivet nuts are quite useful if you're doing something like working on cars, or you have something where you can't get your hand behind in order to fasten something. Like if you're putting a bolt into something and you can't get behind it, these things are very useful. What they are, and I'll show you guys one of these live on camera. These do their job only once. They are a rivet nut that has threads inside of it. So there's a threaded portion, and then there's a smooth portion, just as smooth as our brains. We can just see right into this thing. A smooth portion, a threaded portion, and a shoulder. And the shoulder has all these markings on it, and the smooth portion has all of these little cuts in it in order to keep it from spinning in place. And what you do is you drill a hole in something you can't get behind. I guess, you know, it's supposed to only go a certain distance, and they have recommendations for the distances, but this, on the default settings for the M4s, it's just fine. So you would put this into the hole, position this thing on top of it, and you can use this little handle here to screw it in. You don't have to, like, screw the whole tool in, but you do this with the arms out, with arms wide open, and then what happens is when you close the tool... Hold on. Let's get this on camera. A threaded nostril tool. Yeah, I figured I'd need threads up in my nostrils. So as I tighten this thing, nothing happens. Wait a minute, it's not tightening. Because you have a die and then you have a little threaded portion. So as I lift this, what it's going to do is it's going to pull back the threads, and then that expands outward and hopefully puts a lot of pressure on the on whatever you're attaching it into, and that creates a hole that you can put a bolt into without having to get behind. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? And so these are just the right size that I can put them into that pegboard and create little threaded holes. So that's what we're gonna kind of concentrate on here, and I'm gonna have to get some measurements from this thing so that I know what kind of clearances I have around it. But yeah, these are cool. I don't know how you reset this. I think you have to probably get a drill or a Dremel to pop open the rivet portion. Yeah, they're really cool. Useful when you need them, but you know, you don't want to over rely on something like that. But it'll be perfect for this build. So I can 3D print a bunch of big things that will attach onto these that I will put in the wall control panel. They are pretty permanent. They're very solid. I've never used them before. I've only seen them used, so this would be my first foray into using riv nuts. They seem very, very cool for what they are. It's like self-tapping sheet metal screws, and these are like the, I don't know, they're like the cool guys stuff to use on sheet metal, I guess. But for all the cool dudes who know how to do things. All right, so first things first, I needed to get a wall control panel into this computer, right? And I've already done that. I did that work on my own. I can't do everything with you guys. You guys are kind of tweaky, and I don't know. I just can't. You know what? I just can't. So we already have the air cool upgrades folder that's going to have 1,000 3D models in it. He hates us. Oh my God. He said it. But anyway, I've got, I think, wall PC in here. Yeah, wall PC. And so with Fusion, if you're doing a project in Fusion and you're sort of theory crafting it like I am with this, you want to have components that you then pull into your project. So you have components, and those go into a main sort of planning drawing. And then I can design stuff on the side that'll fit to it, or design stuff in my main thing where I've positioned everything, right? I can position all of my components that are complex, and then I can make the mount from the component to the board using that drawing and extruding sketches from there. And by the way, while I'm talking to you guys, because of the bubbles in the computer and the one that we designed, this thing, we can open up the 3D model for it. We put a lot of effort into designing this thing, the temporary water build, put a lot of 3D modeling into this design, and it is sitting behind me right now. And because bubbles are collecting in it, it is unable to keep itself as cool as it should. And I'm listening to the fans spooling up and down all over the place. It should have been very quiet. And by the way, I'm not allowed to buy stuff. I can't buy anything. So we will be using the same radiators and stuff that are already in this build. In addition to that, I need to, when I do transfer everything over, I want that to be a one-day operation, right? I want that to go very smoothly and have all my stuff printed and ready to go, so it can just go over into there and boot up immediately, and then I can get back to playing games. But because, the stuff that I put in the water system means that I'm also going to need to flush every single component in this thing. I don't know what's in that water cooling solution, but yeah, now it knows, and a RAM stick is going to snap in half. So the way that I designed this is that the return and the send go into the radiators, and then there's just a clear tube that goes from here to here on the radiators. Problem is, this thing has been sitting on its side. I've sat it on this side so that the highest height of the computer, actually, wait, is it? Yeah, it is. It's this side. So up here, bubbles will pool because that's above the reservoir and everything. Absolutely annoying. So I'm going to need to move all of these components that I have over to the new thing, and we'll have to pay attention to how everything is routed. It's basically, there's going to be a big blank spot. I think what I can do is just take this entire top piece, because I went through the trouble of even making these back plates. So without disturbing any of that, if I just make 4 big mounts that'll go to this frame, we can just put that up on the wall. This thing is still like a magnet for dust. Dust still gets in here, and there's all kinds of gross holes and stuff that I've put in this section. But we'll transfer that over, and nobody will know any of the wiser. Maybe I could put like an LED sheet here or something. One of those screens that I have. I don't know how those hook up to a computer, though. I guess maybe through something USB, maybe. I'll have to look up and see what other people have done. Keeping it in this orientation is good. The problem is the EKWB water block was not built to be in this orientation. It's actually built to be flat. That way you can have the outlet catch any bubbles that would find their way up and out. Right now, this thing is like a J-tube in a toilet. It's like the catch tube in a toilet, because it's this loop that goes down, around, and then back up to the next thing. Whereas it was supposed to be flat so that the bubbles would find their way into the outlet. That's going to be the most annoying thing. Is there's probably going to be a permanent bubble in this thing, and I'll never be able to get rid of it. But yeah, I think this will be better. But let's I guess the air-cool frame is what I'm going to bring over. I don't know. I don't think I'll bring over the the block and the motherboard and everything. So this is just the thing that I built in order to plan the frame itself. This is what I already have, and this could represent just the body of the computer itself in our main drawing. I feel like I need to alter it though, but I'm not, because I'm not getting another $35 sheet of carbon fiber to make this thing, so no. Okay, so let's go back to the, well actually let's move this to the frame, make a copy of it over here, and we're going to put that in the wall computer folder. Wall PC or wall or WC. All right, copy it over to there. So we don't need this open right now. And then what else? I brought the power supply frame over. That's going to be, I think, a little larger for the kilowatt power supply. Maybe we need to measure that a little bit. I brought over the radiators. I brought the reservoir over, and I think after this frame, that's all we need. We can just assume all this stuff is here. I can, of course, bring it in later if I really want to make a comprehensive drawing of the thing. But for now, I mean, all we really need is just the frame. I'm trying to make this as little work as possible, if you can't tell. And then one thing that I am going to do, I'm not going to route these back behind this thing. Instead, I'll just take them like 90 degrees and straight out, so that, you know, if I need to bend the PETG, I can. The clear tubes. I'm going from the black silicon tubes to clear PETG because the silicon tubes, I believe there's air getting in through them somehow, and I think I can stymie that flow of bubbles into my design by minimizing the amount of those tubes that I use. I still need to use them for the small things, the accessories. The M2 drive I made water cooled. The RAM I water cooled with this weird ass thing. So those will still need to be flexible tubing that'll let in air, but maybe I can have less flow in because those barely need to be water cooled. And then I'll have a problem with dust. Dust is, of course, going to be a big problem with the computer. Anyway, I started with the air cool stuff, and I have a working drawing where I created a facsimile of the wall control. I looked for wall control on Thingiverse, but Thingiverse had, not Thingiverse, on GrabCAD, but GrabCAD didn't have anything. They didn't have anything. So I wound up just taking out the calipers and measuring all this stuff, and using the square pattern tool to do it all. Okay, so where is that? Wall, PC, and then we have the 16:2 panel, and then we have the wall PC layout drawing. So I'm gonna open that up. Eventually, you know, it'll eventually open up. The big thing that I learned doing all of the water-cooled PC stuff is that what really is the most annoying thing about what was I gonna say? Oh darn it, I completely whiffed what I was about to say, and I totally forgot what it was. All right, so I guess we don't need the motherboard and stuff in here. I guess I can move it, but the way you do this in AutoCAD, or at least the way I do this in AutoCAD, is the first step is to bring in all your stuff. Then you have one singular step here that is the locking of the stuff in position, right? These are, what is it called again? I forget what the tool's called, but it'll prompt you to use this tool, but this tool locks everybody in position so that if you go back in the timeline, you can go to just before you put everybody in position, everything goes haywire. Before you start doing your sketches and stuff, getting stuff into a position and having it locked in that position is very important because we're gonna be projecting geometries from those things so that we can design our brackets and stuff, right? So if I were to move anything in this whole scheme of timeline and stuff, I need to double click on this step, and now it's showing me all the things that this step defines and locking them down. They're all fixed in place. In order to work on this design, I am going to want to pull more things in, but before the step where I lock them down. So that in the end, I've got all of these objects coming in, and then they're locked into place at the very end. If I move something, I can go back in time to that point in the timeline, move it, and then it'll propagate through the rest of like you're basically making an algorithm that gives you the stuff. You say, here's the stuff, project this in. I made a sketch. these geometries are attached, and there's some rules behind that, and then it'll extrude from there. And so that timeline is really important in sort of creating your things. And then, of course, iterating through your things, because we do not call them fuck-ups. We call them iterations, because we're engineers and we're infallible. Remember that. I hear this whoosh of the fans behind me as I'm talking to you guys. Very, very distracting. So these are separate components, so I guess I can just sort of mate them together with this. So what I'll do is I'll pull the timeline back, and everything goes haywire, and then I can grab this and bring it in. And now that that's, whoa, why are we in space? Oh, that's gonna, ooh, that's big actually. I didn't know that would be so big. So I guess this is gonna go approximately over here, but I'm just gonna click OK on it because it doesn't matter where it is, even if it's clipping into a bunch of stuff, right? So now I can put the timeline forward, everybody snaps back to where they go, and we can edit this position, this component's position. Ooh, things are a little jumpy. They're a little jumpy. I did not know that this would take up the entire thing. Huh. So how will I do this now that this is huge? I think it's actually fine. I think it might be okay because I can have all of the cables coming out of this side of the computer and then all the stuff over here. The power supply can still be over here because I can run a wire back to where that's plugged in. It'll be an additional wire, but I mean, whatever. I don't know if that also means that I can put the power supply in any orientation. I don't have to make sure that the wire can exit and go down to a plug strip. So that's actually pretty good. Although I don't know where else I would put it. Right now, this is kind of the plan. Let's put this stuff together so we can actually reposition these things. So what I'll do is I'll select the components here so that I get the whole thing. Right click and go to move copy. And then I'll do a point to point from, and let's see, what point do we have here? Oh, so the big problem with this model was that I don't have a point necessarily in the corner because it's chamfered. So I need to like just barely move it. I mean, I could center point to center point on that face. Is that how that works? No, because it's actually, that may be how it works. So if I'm defining a point to point move like this, oh, hold on. It's there's a lot of stuff going on in the background of this. So what I've done is, you can see I've got the components selected that I want to move, right? And so when I move that somewhere, I will select the face that I want the point on, hit Control, and now we're locked into selecting this thing. And I can see if I can locate, okay, hitting Control when I want to actually select something. So hit Control, and now you can see that that center point on there or there or there is selected. So let's try center point here. And we're moving it to this, hold down Control, center point here. Oh no, that was the wrong one. Control Z. Oh, I just hit, okay, so back to finding this, hit move copy, and then I'm gonna go back to the view like this, where I can see this face. The highlighting does kind of get in the way. Selecting point to point, hit Control, choose that center point, back it over to here, hit Control, choose the center point, and then click OK. Now that's locked into the step that locks everything in position, so I can move it to my heart's content later on. That's sticking out a little bit. Wait a minute, why would that be asymmetric? Hold on a minute. Oh, it's the wrong, I put it to the wrong place too. This whole thing needs to be reoriented. Okay, so why was that wrong? That point is the center between here and here, and it's got two chamfers. No. That really should have been aligned. That should have been aligned. I don't know why it sticks out a little bit. Is it me? Yeah, look, that's off by a little bit. Weird. All right, well, anyway, we need to take this whole thing and rotate it around anyway. So I'm going to choose this component and hit move. And we're going to move these as one big thing eventually. But for right now, I got to put all my stuff together. So I'm going to select this like moving star thing that you can't see because it's behind chat. Great. Okay. Let's move you guys to the other side. I still have to make the button that moves the frame to the other side, but let's just take you guys. Where's frame chat? There it is. You guys go over here. Because that area isn't used as much. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to move this up generically. This tool will change its distances depending on how much you're zoomed in. So if I zoom way in, it'll do a much smaller increment. But I'm just generally getting it in position. Man, that's too big. I'm going to have to make something that holds it from the front. Like the front and the back over here will need to get like a little sub bracket because I want to be able to reach the bolts from the top. So it has to be like that. Ain't that a stinker? Well, we can figure that out in a minute. Once I get all my hardware together. Oh, and did I rotate them right? I did not. We need to rotate. Yoink. Okay. Yeah, I'll probably have to open up the front because the power button's going to be there. That's going to be a weird spot for the power button. It might be a totally fine spot for the power button, actually, though. That might be fine. I'm willing to reach inside of this computer to turn it on and off. But those are going to be really awkward brackets here and like somewhere near here. I guess the Maker Beam can handle it, though. Chat are quiet. So how in the world... See, this part of the computer's already been built. I've already drilled out all of this stuff, and it's all in these spots already. All right, move copy. And then what element do I have to snap to? You know, I thought the centers would be fine, but I guess this one's off by a little bit. And I could put this line in with another line and then just position it with the arrows. And I guess that's the best way to do it. We'll just go center to center, and then I'll move it I'll sneak it in just a little bit. Just sneak it around. So from center here to center there, boom. And I guess I could just leave that in place, even though it's wrong. Oof. I had to really think about that because there's a lot of stuff that moves with this. Because we're not, so I'm not like fully planning where everything is supposed to go. Shout, feel better. There you go. Now chat is too loud. Okay, move the graphics card. Move copy. Select point to point. Go to a place where I can view this properly. Hit control. Oh, there's something in the way. Yeah. Control. Oh, point to point. Origin point. Trying to select this face. What's going on? Hey, bud. Selection 1 selected. GPU shield. Huh? Oh, it canceled this. GPU IO shield. Move copy. Point to point. Oh, I had to select the actual step, the origin point step. So that's the front one. We'll go over here to the front one. Hit control, pop it back into place. This one's probably going to be off in the same way the other one was, and I don't know why. I don't know why. Why would you do this? It seems like it's centered, but there's still like just that little bit there. And I was centering it. Wait, was that whole... What was that? Oh, it was that face. Okay. Huh. Weird. It's a wiggle room thing. Oh, that's what it is. Yeah, okay. So the blade that goes in the middle of those two, in the middle of the Maker Beam stuff, I gave a little bit of clearance on both sides. So that's what that is. When I snap center to center on the surfaces, one of them is a bit larger because I've given that centerpiece some clearance. So that's why it's over to the side a little bit. I guess, you know, I could measure it and move them away. I might as well do it just to be complete. So when we use the inspect tool, I can go surface to surface and it'll give me that distance of what is that? 0.3 millimeter. So it's 0.3 millimeter offset. So I'll go back and select this one and move them, and then use the free move and move it like that. And so that's in the positive. So, oh no, it's in the negative, negative 0.3 millimeter. And now these are aligned properly. Yeah, see that clearance right there, that 0.3 of a millimeter made this face larger than that face. I get it now. Okay, so that put us in the right place. We've got those two components in there. Now, I should probably make a component out of the frame with the stuff in it, because that's kind of how I'm going to be treating this thing in the future. But I would like to pull in... Oh, let's get the power button in there. I mean, I could always move this to the back. Oh, no, there's not room. Power button's a little wider than this. Plug hole. Yeah, having the plug hole back here, I won't be able to use these to anchor any of the cables, though. That's just going to be, because my desk is butted up against the corner, so my desk is going to be off to the positive and the z-axis on this thing. So with my desk in the positive and the z-axis, the monitor cables and the power cables and stuff can just kind of like go around the back corner and be out of the way. I could move these up and then have it up here. And then this entire panel would be open. And that way I could route stuff out of there. Problem is, this is so far up here that if I do put tubes on it, they're going to be up near the top of this thing anyway. So what's the point of having the grating on there? I think the right angle adapters worked for this, but then I would need to route the tube down and over. It has to go down just slightly. But this is also where I could put the reservoir. I would need to get to the reservoir too. Huh. I think I just need to live with that. I think I need to plan around that and actually bend the PETG tubes instead of leaving them, you know, completely straight. I need to bend the tubes around in order to make this kind of work. This is a different dimension than the sideways one, so I can't just move these 3 panels to the bottom and have the power button over here. Yeah, I guess that's just how it's got to be. This is just how it's got to be. And then the reservoir that I've got is this little, it's this little one, that little plastic one that's sitting in the middle of the wall control panel. So let me get the power button positioned before I move on. And then we'll finish this step, bring in the power plug. I'm gonna have to use some big thick wires on this thing too, because it's a whole kilowatt going into this thing. This power supply came with a thicker cable. It's gonna be crazy. Hopefully I don't blow up the breaker. What was I doing? Move this thing, and it's gonna be like this. And then like this. These we've already designed are 3D prints, and this is one of my favorite pieces because it has this carbon fiber insert that fits pretty much exactly. And it looks good. I should work on illuminating it though. Which one are we looking at? We're looking at the back one, and it's actually the... Yeah, oh, that one. Okay, so that goes here. And then it goes forward by 0.3. Forward. 0. Oh, wait, what? 0.3. Cool thing about the program is that you can specify inches or millimeters when you move stuff like that. If I said in, it would move it 0.3 inches without complaint. It wouldn't say, you're currently working in metric. Beep, boop, beep. You're working in metric. You have to change the thing. There are wires coming directly out of the back of this motor for the pump, or for the reservoir, so I'm probably going to have to bust this thing forward just a little bit. This is becoming a lot more three-dimensional than I had anticipated. And then, I guess in order to control the cables properly, let's move the power supply 90 degrees so that that power plug comes out the side, but then I can put my own wire on that and wire it all the way back to this right here, where we will have the other power thing. So I need to move some stuff. I need to bring some stuff in. So let's just finish this for now so our progress isn't undone by a computer going haywire. Go back to computer projects, go back to the air-cool upgrades for the temporary cooling stuff. This is where we have like these components and everything. A lot of work went into this computer thing. We've done a lot of work, which is why I want to preserve as much of it as possible. I don't think any of this stuff is useful though. Damn it. Oh wait, no, that's just that thing. Where's the power button? The power plug holder. Plug. Power plug. Where are you? Carbon fiber plate, the clips, this thing, that thing, CPU plug, FET block, flow thingy, front cup holder. Oh yeah, I forgot. We made a thing to go behind the little flow indicator that has LEDs in it. They work with all of the rest of the LEDs in the build. We put a lot into this project. Where is the power thing? PSU power in. There we go. I'll move it just so that I don't wreck anything if I have to go into these files, and move that to wall PC. All right, and anything else we need to plunder? I don't think so. Yeah, I guess I can move that flow indicator, but yeah, am I going to want to put the grid back onto this, or should I get rid of it and move some of the things away? But this is like, I don't know, it's strong like this. I guess I can have a tube do weird stuff. And then these two radiators are going to need space behind them, but I don't think this is negotiable. I don't think I can move these in any other position because I need bubbles to find the tops. I could flip around the radiators and use right angle plugs so that everything was down here, but I don't think that's going to serve anything. And, you know, I want the tubing and stuff to be out in the open so I can see everything working for vanity purposes. So I think it's going to be like this, and then I'm going to stuff that reservoir probably right here. We need to model the reservoir, so that may be what we work on soon. I don't have a 3D model of it, unless we find one. I don't think we're going to find it, though. You got to reach into the body of the PC to turn it on. So out would then go directly to these, and the power button would probably be moved down to be like, I could like squish it next to the reservoir. The reservoir is going to need its own full design on it for mounting. That's going to have to be its own thing. And then this will have to get like a front bracket and a back bracket to hold it up here. I don't really necessarily need access under this unless I want to keep the second SSD cool, because that opens up into the back of this thing. If I ever want to replace that SSD, it's not tenable. It's in an area where I cannot access. It's literally strapped up behind the motherboard. The only way to get to it would be to undo the cooler fittings and either remove this entire block or just remove the motherboard. Just move the motherboard away. It's kind of fixed. And of course, I'm gonna have 6 fans blasting at my face with this thing, but you know, it's what it's. Yeah, I think that'll be pretty good. All right, what was I gonna do next? Oh yeah, we need to pull this thing in here from the computer projects folder, from the water-cooled PC folder. I'm gonna work on this thing on my own too. I'll make some progress on this, and hopefully we can get this printed out and do just like one stream where we build it. It'd be nice for this thing to go smoothly. I don't know if it'll go smoothly though. I have my doubts. All right, so that like that, then point to point on the middle of the panel there, And then we go over here. We go to the middle there. And then we go free move. And I'm moving it back 0.3. Is it negative or positive? Nope. Negative. I mean, the power plug here is good. It will have to route a big power cable all the way back to where this thing is. And then this thing is going to have just the generic, just the stock stuff. Oh, wait, that's okay. I got to actually pull this back here so that it doesn't, it exists in that step and it doesn't go to a weird spot if I move things. All right, so back into here. Oh my God. Unselect, it's too slow. This computer, the computer that we're working on right now, the computer that we are working from, has a 1080 FTW graphics card. So it's actually kind of able to keep up, although it is pretty old. So it's doing its best. It's doing okay. So we're going to mount this much in the same way that a regular power supply is mounted. I don't think there are screws on the front. Yeah, I don't think there are screws on the front of the power supply. So we may just have to like capture the front. The 4 screws there, we'll take a look at the power supply and see how much different it is. But if we do just the common computer thing of having a big bracket in the back here, I think that'll be enough for us to mount the thing. So yeah, let's take the power supply and twist it, which will make routing cables much easier. Wait, that's PSU power, and we're looking at the ATX power supply. Move copy. This is just a generic ATX power supply that I model that I got from GrabCAD. And then I can just blast it back here, and that leaves us more room for wires and stuff up here. I have it floating above. I could actually have it touching this surface. I might as well. Well, let's have it near enough as makes no difference touching this surface. And the question is if those dimensions are going to be greater or similar to the one that I actually have. And then about the holes. I need to have this thing spaced so that I can access these holes from the front in case I want to work on it. So I guess it needs to be like that. Yeah, and the air is going to come in there and exit there. And then is this too close? It's got a little, let's look at the orthographic view. The orthographic view is as if, well, it changes the perspective so that all the surfaces are flat. They're not at a perspective angle. So if you look at it orthographically, I can see the gap here and know that this thing is floating that distance above throughout, its entire run, and we don't have perspective lines confusing us about that. So the view control that I use is perspective with orthographic faces. So if I happen to orient my camera from a direct side view, then I'm in a non-perspective view. But you got to click on the face in order to get it to align like that. And then it snaps into that view. So we can see the distance from the wall control panel that our computer stuff actually is. Pretty neat. I could be fancy and make everything up to this level here. Although this pump has stuff exiting out the back. If that's the tallest, can I still get the bend out of my wires? If this thing is, yeah, maybe I can. Okay, so let's put everything at the same height. Now this might get something printed that goes on top of it. Let's take a look at the power supply so we know what we're up against here, because that'll be the first thing that I can mount. I was thinking about whether or not I wanted to have an override switch on the PSU so that I could send 12 volts directly to the pump. So I can have like a debubbling mode. I've had this for months and haven't been able to do anything with it. So the question is, I need calipers to measure with. Is the 3D model going to match this thing at all? Or is this thing huge? U-U-U-U-U-G-E. Huge. Hold on, getting the cable. My wires out from under the stool. That is a pet peeve. It's eventually going to break the wires. All right. So Fusion 360, a 3D printer that has been calibrated, and a set of calipers are all you need to do all kinds of stuff like this. I don't know who decided this, but the ATX standard, for some reason, we've got 4 bolts back here, and that's it. That's what everything in your power supply is supposed to ride on, these 4 bolts. None of the other holes are a guarantee, which is madness. So like the power supply 3D model that we have has holes here. We don't have those. So this is just going to sit like this in the corner with a big bracket on the back. Yeah, that's how it's got to be, I guess. Just taking a closer look at this thing. Let's just make sure that our ATX dimensions are all right. Or rather, whatever it is, PSU, whatever. From here to here, we've got 150 millimeters. I think that might be the maximum of these calipers. 151. Well, 150-ish. There's a lot of wiggle room in there. So, okay, I will trust the standardization of computer equipment. But we need to make a big meaty bracket to hold on to the back of this thing. Making it out of metal would obviously be a better way to do this. But yeah, we've got to somehow hold this thing in place from back here only. Weird. Let's see, where am I extruding that from? Because when I 3D print it, I can try to emphasize, I guess the bed would be that face of the power supply. And then I'll need to make extrusion like feeties that come out and have captured bolts on them. And make sure that this thing is roughly center. You know what? I'm going to be a little bit more cavalier about this thing. I don't need it to be exactly to dimensions, right? But I think I want to hold on to this thing further down. I want this to mount right up against the sidewall here and not be floating up like everything else. The radiators need to be floating up because they need room for air to get in behind them, but this thing doesn't need nothing. It has 2 air holes, and then it just needs to be in the background for everybody else. The reservoir may need to move up a little bit, but I think this is a good position to start from. Let's just jump right into it and just design. What do the holes look like on this thing? Oh, they're huge. So the difference between the two here, we have a huge area of air to get in. And so we need to stay away from that stuff. But I still need this thing to be structurally competent. Maybe I can go above and below it? Think. These are considerations that I have to have for this whole thing. Let's see if we can, yeah, get this stuff in there and make room for it. That's tough. So basically, I want to avoid this entire area here in the middle and barely have any ingress to it. There, and then that corner, and I want to keep it outside. So maybe I need to, but I've got it low enough there. Maybe we need to move it up a little bit. I'm sort of out of space though. I can't really move it up. Why are we in space? Yeah, I think that little reservoir is going to fit right here. That's a perfect spot for it, because it'll be up at the top of the computer. Nothing will be too close. It'll have to stick up a little bit. That's going to be tough for me to plumb. Remember, I can't buy anything, so I've got to make everything work that I've already got. I can move the power button to another panel and then leave this whole front open and have the tubes come out this way and go in this way too. So it'll be from the outlet here up and over to the inlet here. And then from here, I will need to figure out a hard tube to go to either one of these. It actually needs to go to back here. It needs to go back here where there's a RAM cooler, and then it can do the little elbow that I've got up here that goes into the CPU cooler, and then that comes back out the front there, where it'll have to go to the reservoir, and the reservoir will go to the fans, and hopefully that catches everything. I just bought a washer dryer and was surprised to find LEDs underneath like some 90s car. Wait, a washer dryer that has ground effects? That is kind of crazy. See, if I've got it low like this, that means that it's gonna be easier to plumb across. But then, man, I'm having a lot of trouble conceptualizing and finishing my thoughts on this thing and getting it all together and organized and looking good. What's up, lines and squares? And it's a whole thing. I am actually on, hold on, I gotta check. I checked to see that I'm on YouTube. YouTube. Oh yeah, I am, because otherwise how would I have opened the chat? Duh. Sorry. Welcome to Discombobulated Bother. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure it out. How we can get all this stuff on the wall. These wall-mounted reservoirs, it would have been better if I had like the pump thing that I've got over there, where it's just like an acrylic box that goes on top of the pump, and then had the flat reservoir that I could put up top. But I don't want to put the pump reservoir up top, because then when it starts emptying out, you get air into your system from the pump sucking up air. When this thing turns the pump on fully, it can create a vortex in there, and that's what happens to this computer over here. It'll create a little vortex and suck down air into the system, and then you get shh noises. So I want to have a dedicated reservoir up top. I would have loved to use that giant 5 1/4 drive reservoir, but I'm going to save that one for water cooling maintenance. That one is wonderful because it's a swimming pool, and bubbles just find the top. But instead, we'll do this little guy. This little guy that's approximately 3 inches wide. So that'll definitely fit here. Let's model the reservoir. We need a new part. I'm going to save it, and this is weird res. Oh, and before I do that, I want to make sure that there isn't an equivalent in GrabCAD. I don't even remember what I bought. It was like an Amazon listing, so I'm going to try to find that again. You know, there's a lot of 3D models swimming around out there. A lot of producers of parts and stuff have 3D models of their products. If we use any of the AlphaCool lineup of products, they have them on their website. You can just download the reservoir, or the radiators and stuff. Water-cooled PC build. Yeah, we're putting it on the wall. And so right now we are just theory crafting about how we can accomplish that. But the wall control thing will be held up by 6 screws. I don't think they'll be in studs. They may be hanging off of the drywall, but 6 drywall anchors should be able to hold this thing up pretty well. And then I'm using wall control because I have an extra panel. It's just a ding and dent. More PCs. Yeah, the wall's plenty of room. Well, with it up on the wall, it'll be out of the way. And then I'll also have a kilowatt power supply on it. Let's search reservoir. How do you spell that? It is. And it's not listed. The dual 5.5 bay is actually still listed, and the XSPC one, but not the little tiny one that I bought. How many PCs do you have in this room? Many. I have currently am running, I mean, if you count the handheld as a PC, that's one. The gaming computer, which is the evolution of what you're looking at in front of you. And then I have 2 computers that are over on the rack. One of them is the file server, and the other one is the stream PC. That's this one that we're working off of. Raspberry Pis count, then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those, I think, or 6. What about Pi Picos? Do those count? All right, so I need to model a new thing and basically have it as a placeholder for this. This is just a weird little reservoir that I found. I was browsing on stuff and I was like, that's kind of cool. I don't know how you're supposed to orient this thing. I think there's multiple different ways, but let's check GrabCAD to see. Maybe this is on GrabCAD. Pittsburgh. Hey, how's it going? How yin's doing? Let's see. GrabCAD. GrabCAD, if you just go to the website, you're going to be on the landing page, which is not GrabCAD. This is the company that bought it, which is an additive manufacturing company. They're keeping the library alive, so they deserve a little bit of credit. And so they're throwing their additive manufacturing business up front, so they get traffic and so people know they exist. But if you go to community and you go to library, you have access to the wealth of human modeling knowledge. A lot of people list their stuff on GrabCAD, and the models are constantly being uploaded. Somebody decided to put their microwave up against the wall. You can do that. You can do that. You can model it, you can build it, and you can find these models to download. All you need to do is sign up for an account so that they can sell all of your data. So what I'm looking for is a reservoir. Reservoir. I hate the way that's spelled. Yeah, GrabCAD is enabling a bunch of stuff that probably shouldn't be enabled, but I'm glad it is. Only 3 PCs in my office currently, built in house 8, not including Raspberry Pis. Damn, that's a lot of PCs. I can't afford that. I mean, if you're counting like motherboard, power supply combos, motherboard, RAM, CPU, then I've got 2 more over there. Plus, I have 2 other rack cases in that direction too, so I could technically put them together and plug them in and everything, but I just don't need. The PCs that I have are the ones that I need. I guess what we could have done is had this desktop would be its own PC, although it would be better if it was like a VM, and then have the broadcasting PC be a different one. I should look G1/4 fittings. Yeah, see, these are like the crazy, before EKWB went under, they had a lot of crazy stuff. I put micro PCs on all my TVs. It's better than smart TVs. I've never used a smart TV that hasn't been absolutely fucking struggling to do its job. Like you turn on the smart TV and it's like doing absolutely its best to try to function in spite not being given any resources. It always bugs me because it's like, why can't you just make the thing snappy? Why is there an ad for body paint on GrabCAD? Are you fucking kidding me? As if they just don't want me to use this website because I'll get my Twitch channel blown up. Jeff Bezos will put the key in the slot, turn it, and then hit the 2 buttons simultaneously, and I literally fucking explode because there was a human genital on the screen at one point. Jeez. Hate smart TVs for the most part. I do like telling Google to turn them on or off. I see. Yeah, these circular reservoirs are okay. I don't know if I like them totally. It's nice to, have a reservoir at all to catch bubbles, especially if you're using silicon tubing. I would like to get away from that, and I've got the square reservoirs. I don't think anybody 3D modeled this thing. We're gonna have to just make a model from scratch. More body paint. I don't even know what the policy on body paint is on Twitch. I think that they changed their policies recently because I don't know if there's a lot of body painting streamers on here, but for some fucking reason, GrabCAD allows body paint. There it is again. There it is again. There it is again. I am going to be putting ad block. This is so. Father, why would you use ad block? Do you not see that I'm on an engineering website and they're too cool for actually vetting out their ads? So there's about 17,000 ads for body paint, and so they look like soccer players, but they are actually just people with a thin layer of paint over their nipples. What am I to do about that? That is an advertisement that is okay maybe in Europe, but it might not be okay for Twitch. Twitch would clamp down on that sort of thing, right? So why would I run an ad block? That right there, I can't show this webpage on. God, what a bunch of piss. All right, so I don't know who makes this, and it's all scratched up and dented from years of not being put into a project, but it'll be put into my gaming PC now. Why did I run network cables if I can't use my gigabit network? Oh, yeah, you go. Direct network 100 megabyte and not 1 gigabyte. Weird. Yeah, just the whole smart TV thing. Like, what the TV we use upstairs is smart, but we're not using any of the smart features. It's just like, it just happens to have to load an entire operating system to function, which makes it super slow in the morning. I'm still loading. I'm like, just let me hit mute. I don't want to listen to anything. So inlets and outlets. Honestly, this thing would be cooler if I could use it like this, and then this would be the air chamber, and I would be able to refill that, but there's no inlet there. There's only a side, top, and bottom. So really technically using it like this or like this. This is fascinating, but I don't think it is the correct use of this reservoir. Although it would, air or water comes in and this would make it kind of like swirl. And that would allow bubbles to go to the surface here where there's a little cut in that wedge. And so it sort of forces the water to swirl and then do that. But then I don't have like a bottom outlet. The water level would have to be up here at all times. So that's not a good one. This, well, I mean, you know, traditionally inlet, outlet, airspace. So you would have it filled up to like here, and then you'd be able to fill it with this one. The outlet is coming from close to the bottom. I don't know why I guess they wanted to have more threads in there. Or you do outlet here, inlet and outlet on this side. Probably this would be better for an outlet though. But then water comes in, hopefully swirls, then bubbles get caught on this thing though, and then they would have to go up that way. It's weird, right? This is a weird setup. I don't like it. Anyway, let's make it in Fusion. Easy enough, right? Fusion 360, new part, weird reservoir. We need a new sketch. Now, the orientation angle of this thing doesn't super duper matter. We are going to be making it from, you know, the side, obviously. Let me pull in, where is that? There. Yeah, we're going to be making it in this orientation. So we're going to extrude this way, which should be pretty easy to do. And it is just a box. This is not going to be very complicated. We got to get these places correct, but all right, later, sea stretching. So, and I don't need to model the slash in it or anything like that. I just need to have the G1/4 ports on their various places. Now, the thing is, like, the tube fittings that I'm using, I think they barely fit inside of these little cut-ins that they've given me here. So I don't know if I can go directly to tube from this. I may have to use these two ports, which I guess is totally doable anyway. I could have them come in this way. Have the outlet come up into there, and then have this one just go down. And that way it's swirling, and the bubbles can find their way out. Oh, and then I don't have anything up here. Son of a... They were like, you can mount this all kinds of ways. And I said, wow, sold. I'll definitely get good use out of this thing. And then I'm sitting here trying to figure out how to plug this thing into the water cooling system. I'm like, this thing is weird. I don't know how to use this. They didn't make it very clear. Okay, well, it is clear. It's clear plastic. So, all right, it's not really going to matter the orientation of my initial sketch. I could make it this way and make it vertical. I think the camera might be confusing that way. So what I'll do is I'll just choose this plane right here. And so now we have our positive directions to the right and upwards. We're sort of looking down at the table right now. This is a square, so I guess we'll start with a square. What are the dimensions of the square? Presumably, if we're reverse engineering somebody's design, it's more than likely that this thing was designed in metric. Although with water cooling stuff, it's possible that we have English sizes. The threads are English, but 100.093. Yeah, okay. That is, so 100 millimeters by 77.02, 76.8, 76, yeah, 100 by 77. Man, it's always nice when the dimensions are so easy. So I guess I'm gonna anchor this to origin here. It's not really gonna matter that much because we're not really gonna use those numbers, but we can just use that and just work out from there. So 100 millimeters tall, 77 millimeters wide, bada bing. So that's our overall dimension for the reservoir. Now we need to get these tabs on here, these weird tabs that are all over this thing. There's two sets of tabs on these plane. I guess this one is where the ports are, but if we're looking at it like this, which is the orientation that I kind of want to plan this thing in, what is the location of, what the, wait a minute. What the? That's not going to be totally detectable here, but these are different heights. Huh. A Bridgewater and all of the trouble that brings, or gets us over? Wait a minute. 60 months. That's like half a decade. Holy 60 months. That's 1,000 years. For 10,000 years. A Bridgewater has been Thank you. Thank you for the ongoing sub. Do I have a drill bit over here? Where's the drill bit? I thought I had a drill bit. I might have put it away. Let's get a drill bit and just see what's going on with these holes. Get a drill bit. How's it going, a Bridgewater? Thank you so much for that sub. A big ol' hoagie. These are approximately this big, and this is a big long drill bit, and I assume that it's not bent. Bam. It's one of those Dremel side cutting bits. I don't know why I still have this. I don't know how I haven't broken this yet. Oops, what clicked over there? Don't click on that. So, that whole... Yeah, that's... Look at that. Completely off. What the... What is going on here? Why is that so far off? So that's gonna alter how I mount this, depending on how I plan out for the holes. That's a little bent too, not as much. Still my first cup of coffee for the day? Oh man, I could use some coffee. These are roughly in line with one another. They're a little bit off. This is bent just a little bit. But then these are completely off. This thing sucks. How much are those how much do those cost, the circular reservoirs? How much do those cost? Those maybe I don't like those though, because everybody has them. They're too common. You better not pull up body paint. I need to add G 1/4 to it. G 1/4. I'm not gonna buy anything. 20 bucks. I told myself I wouldn't buy anything. Man, water cooling is not as popular as it used to be. There used to be all kinds of cool stuff that you could put into a water cooled build. But times are changing. People just don't do that anymore. I don't know why. Somebody linked in the Discord to this. Oh, you guys don't know what I'm looking at. Somebody in the Discord linked to one of these things. This $116. It's literally just a reservoir, a radiator, and a pump, all in one. And it's like, why are you looking at that? See, everybody would use this thing back in the day. This like DNA looking thing. I don't know if that spins in there, but I don't like it. I don't like it. Geez, Google killed my ad block, and I have not taken this computer through the process of putting Firefox on it, because there are some plugins and tools that I use that enable the stream to have the chats everywhere that are Chrome based. Although I think they may be available for in Firefox now, so I may have to switch over to Firefox. It might be a little bit less painful than I think. And then I'll get my ad block back, and then we won't have body painting ads on my stream. $400? Why would you do this? Yeah, so there's nothing's really jumping out at me. The circular reservoirs, of course, there are 3D models of. That would probably be a neat idea for this, because it is up on the wall, and having like a column for bubbles to get filtered through is nice, but I'm going to continue on with what I have. So we will 3D model this thing in spite of the fact that all the holes are all over the place. Okay, I just wanted to take a look at what was available, how much they cost, and they're a little bit cost prohibitive. It's like 20 bucks to get like an entry level one of the circular reservoirs, and then your computer looks like every other water-cooled computer out there. And I don't want that. I want mine to be unique and special. Although having a big reservoir in that space would be nice. The advent of more cooling in that area could also be, well, radiators are expensive, good ones anyway. Putting a gigantic one up in this corner would be nice, but it seems like we're out of space. I didn't think I would be out of space so quickly. Oh, we need to get the spring arm out of the way if I'm going to do that. We are like out of space already, so. Yeah, so EP little reservoir goes there. Let's just continue to build it then. So I am going to need tabs coming off of this, and then I will need to chamfer the tabs. The question is, are these in line with one another? They are at the same height on this. I can't 3D model this thing without having this in here so that you guys can see what I'm measuring. And then we're doing it in this orientation. So the ports here will be modeled on a different sketch. And I've got this front sort of thing, what you call it, and that's at a certain height from the base. So we'll just take it as height from base. Well, it's kind of hard to measure, assuming the center of the hole. The hole is 4 millimeters. So 22 plus 2. So this one's 24. And then from the edge, I'm sort of measuring to the start of the hole. And then rounding it to the nearest, because it's, I believe that this thing was designed in metric. So 4, so that's going to be 6 millimeters. .24 and 6, and then we have a 4 millimeter hole. And then around the hole, we're going to have a box that is 13.5 millimeters. That is a cursed measurement. Do you think maybe that's 14? Oh no, that's 13 millimeters from end to end. Okay, that is a weird one. We can create a center box though. And we can lock it in here and make it 13, not 113, and we have 13, and then lock it there. And then that's our thingy. That's our tab. That's going to be square at first. We'll chamfer it later. That's sort of how you do things. You guys can't see what I'm doing. I need to work in the upper right-hand corner of my desktop. Smith Clay. Hey, thank you for subbing. Appreciate that. Hello, bother. Hope I'm not a bother. None of us ever loved you anyway. Or, I mean, thank you for the 44 months. I appreciate that very much, Smith Clay. Why is my bitrate in red? What's going on there? No, I'm still getting 6K. It jumped up way high for just a second. But, all right. Yeah, the desktop view, I got to figure out. I'm still figuring out my setup, as professional as I am. Let's do the other row of holes, and I'm going to plan for the rear one, not the front one, because this is where things will bolt together, unless I make like a standoff that goes through these. You know, I could probably find like a super long bolt and then have like a sleeve on the bolt in the middle here. That may be the way that I do it. I don't know. We'll see. Whatever's fanciest. We're having fun. It's a silly computer build. Silly computer build. All right, so take this all the way up until I just barely get to that hole. So let's just take it tip to tip. Just let the tips touch for just a second. And we got 74.3. I'm going to call that 75. Although 74, it's very close to 70. 74, and then 75 is off. It is definitely 74 and a half. What kind of a measurement is that? Oh, but I am also going diagonally. Wait a minute. I'm going diagonally. So maybe I can just measure, measure. Welcome to my Philadelphia accent. There we go. We can go up the side like this. Still seems very much like 70. Oh, 74. Okay, 74 plus 2, 76. So we're going up 76 and over 6. Okay. Rise over run on a construction line, which I'm specifying on the stuff that's below that screen there. Or you can hit the X key to go into construction. what we're doing right now is we are defining dimensions and solids that are enclosed. Those enclosed areas will then allow us to extrude from them. This is much akin to additive manufacturing. It's sort of, if you think about things this way, you can set your sketch plane to be the base of the 3D printer and move up from there. And you can consider how, you know, limiting overhangs and stuff like that, having enough surface area on the bottom layer in order to stick properly, all those considerations and how the layers build up, you kind of think about while you're doing this. What's up, Agalos? It's probably not how you say it, it's just my accent. I am not a native English speaker. I'm from Philadelphia. So from here, why is that window just too small to hold the number? That's weird. We are going 74 plus 2, so 76. 76, and then we're going over 6 millimeters, just like its buddy. And then that's where that second eyelet is. And then that's 4 millimeter. And since it's not a construction line, I'm going to double click it and hit X, and that'll put it back into being a solid line. I'm a little burpy. I had a supermarket pulled pork. That's not something you eat because you love yourself, okay? It's something you eat because your body needs fuel. And then this is going to be the same size, so 13, and I'm just going to double click it and hit X. So when you double click, it'll give you the, oh, apparently because there's, it doesn't do it with the center square. Control Z. Okay. Control, line, hit the X key. Apparently, so the solid lines are what define your actual structure, the thing that you're going to extrude, the closed in stuff. Why not in the wall? Because there's like mice in there and stuff. There's like dust. The reason that I'm doing a wall-mounted PC is, one, to get it out of the way. Now that it's a more stationary computer, I still want to be able to see the computer because it looks cool, and I can see all the stuff happening and all the blinking lights. But I also want to get it out of the way, and putting it in the corner of my desk on the wall is going to really get it out of the way. Also, the reason that I'm specifically doing this and not doing what Flatulent Gonad did. What Flatulent Gonad did is, in his house, he's got an empty room sitting above his stream setup. And so he just ran all the cables up. And so his computer is in a completely different room. I would love to do that. And then all of my computers could be on a rack or just open frames that I would walk in there, dust it every now and then, make sure to top off the water, and then see you guys in a month. I would love to do that with this setup. I would use all kinds of cool fiber optics to move everything to the room that's right behind me here, but that's a storage room right now, so I can't really do that. That would be the goal, though, is just to have a big telecom rack in that room and all the 3D printers in that room, and then have the stream. Basically, there'd be just a big hole somewhere along this wall, and I'd have everything in another room, right? Let's make a server on the wall. No thanks. I don't think the drywall would hold that up. But anyway, that would be the ideal thing, because then all my computers could be loud. I wouldn't have to buy so many Noctua fans to quiet things down, because this, remember, in the end, this is a studio. Having a floor fan in a studio is a big no-no, and I've got a big floor fan in this studio. I also have a lot of PCs making heat and a lot of lights making heat, so I kind of need that fan to survive. Luckily, that's not audible, but then the other no-no is to have a bunch of loud PCs. I could call myself a game streamer sometimes, but doing the text streaming, little fan noise isn't that bad. It does come through on the mic. Your bit rate for audio is so low that you don't hear it. That's what I see a lot of streamers don't understand. They go, oh my God, you guys can hear the air conditioner, so I have to turn off the air conditioner. And then they have like a heat stroke on stream. Streamers, listen to your audio coming out of Twitch. Put on the big headphones, make a clip, open the clip on your computer, play it back. You will not be able to hear the air conditioner or the fan. You've got an in-room air conditioner that's making a buzz. It's so far in the background by the time your bit crushed down into an audible but transmittable resolution. It's just not there. Anyway, trying to get my fellow streamers not to suffer so much from heat stroke. But the other reason that I'm doing this is because I put all my tools up on the wall using wall control, and I bought packets of dings and dent wall control, so they'll have like a little mark in them, or the corner is bent weird. You just get a pair of pliers and bend it back, and boom, free. Not free, but much cheaper. Powder coated stainless steel panels, not stainless steel panels. Anyway, the point is, I had an extra. I have extras. This is one of the extras. And so if I put my computer on this, it'll be pretty easy for me to just put it up on the wall and everything will be held in place. It's possible to add the wall. Is it possible to add the wall at the cooling system? I don't know how, just saying an idea. What does that even mean? Mine's in a nearby closet. I just ran a long display port and USB cable to the desk. Yeah, see, it's like, oh, it'd be so brilliant because the room that's behind this wall right here is a small, it's like a narrow storage closet that goes the length of that wall. And it's a finished space, so there's not a lot of dust and stuff in there. It also opens up to where the main heat pump is for the whole house. So if we have the air conditioner going, I could open that door, maybe put a box fan in it, and it would get nice, crisp, cool air conditioning into that room. I thought that'd be great. One thing I want to do someday is just buy a giant car radiator and just have that cool, like a big pool of water cooling systems. So I think the other one's going to be 6 millimeters off of this. Let's just double check. That's not the right one. Not that one. If that's there, if man is 5 and the devil is 6, then that must make me 7. This heartbeat's gone to heaven. But if I go to hell, well then I hope I burn well. I'll share my days with JFK, Marvin Wells, and something, Jimi Hendrix, Poltergeist, and Webster, yeah, Emmanuel, because he's the Antichrist. The roof is on fire. Okay, anyway, look at how misaligned those two are. Blech. I think these are in alignment. This is just a cursory check. I can't show you fully on the microscope, but like if I line those up, I think those are supposed to be, anyway, in alignment. Because, yeah, that's not quite flat. It looks flat on the bottom there. I'm using the marks on the desk to help me align these things. I think that'll work out. I'm not doing any alterations to the wall other than hanging a couple drywall anchors. So this will be the same dimension. I'm just going to do it as a separate thing. So 76 by 6. And then we put a ball in there, and that's 4 millimeter diameter, which luckily is the size of the wall control stuff. So it's possible, well, no, because these don't line up to inch. These holes don't line up to inches. If they line up to the inches, that's where all the pegboard holes are. But we'll have to make it adapt in some way. So rectangle from the center, not a construction line, over to this thing, and the width is 13. I'm going to make sure that snaps. There we go. Okay, and so those are our tabs. Do I want to figure out where the fittings are? I guess those will go on the sides, so with sides on the top and the bottom. So we can do those a little later, and that's all we need from this. I'm not going to model the internal features. We don't need the internal features, and it pretty much is all within the radius of the box. So from here, I guess we're done with that. So finish that sketch. And now we need to actually extrude the different elements of this thing. So the main part of this is how big. Now this is a very fancy view. Everything's happening in the center of the screen, but the usable area is up in the corner. Trying to make it a little bit more diegetic around here, right? I should move myself in a little bit. There we go. That's a little better. 35, like exactly. 34.99, 35. Oh, I do love it when something is very obviously metric. So I hit the letter E for extrude, and that'll bring up the E. Oh, I need to click into the program. So the extrusion tool, I can specify distances and stuff and directions and all that with this tool. Let me just bring this over here so we can see what's actually going on. So when I extrude, I choose which enclosed areas I'm extruding. I'm not going to build up the tabs yet. We can attach those separately. Grab this entire body and just type in the number 35. So that's 35. Is this thing 35? Was that actually the number that I got? No, it was like 13. This was 30. Yeah, 35. Let's Looks chonkier than I remember. 35 millimeters. Click OK on that. Bob is indeed your uncle now, and you can't do anything about it. You just can't. And then coming up from there on a flat surface, we have the extrusion of the tabs. 1, 2, 3. And those are a thickness. They have a thickness for the thickness of 4.7, 4.8, 4.9. It's 5 millimeters. So we'll take those up 5. Now, technically, I don't really need to care about the ones on the other side, but I guess we'll model them anyway. So I can choose the same solids. Now, you know, obviously clicking on it is not going to be easy to do. I could choose this face and extrude it from that face, and it would just link back to the other one. But it's better to always go from the actual sketch itself. His name is my name, too. So extrude from here, here, and here. Now, the thing is, like, our two tabs here are completely discombobulated. They are off from one another. So this is how it was designed, not how it was built, which could cause us some issues. But I am going to go in, the start point is not going to be the profile plane. Instead, the start point of my extrusion will be an object, and I can choose this face. And now I can go -5 millimeters. And we attach the tabs from the top. Click OK on that. Now we need to do some chamfering. I guess before I put the fittings in, we can do a little bit of chamfering. Chamfer. Or filleting, if we're fancy. This is the fillet tool. The fillet tool simply fillets stuff. If you fillet in the sketch and put all those curves in the sketch, you unbound all of your dimensions, because now instead of going a distance to a point, you have replaced that point with a curve. And so there's nowhere to measure the distance to. And so you break your drawings. So you want to save this step until you have your solid. So now that I have my solid, I am going to fillet, not that whole face. Hold on, I just deselect that. I want to just hit these corners up. And if you need to add and move corners, like if you need to add corners in later on, you go back to this sketch in the time, this step in the timeline, you can hit Shift and it will highlight all the corners that you're supposed to put in, that you've selected. So I'm hitting the outside corners of these because we're going to round these off. We're going to round off all these ends. I could have based these on circles, and I could have drawn lines out to the circles in order to make the top and the bottom, but I found it is a lot more fun to use the chamfer tool just to round out the edges. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to drag it inwards. Why is it selected upwards? Hold on a second. Oh, something went stupid. Hold on, escape, try again. So, rounded edge, the fillet tool. Get the tool out of the way. Try to work in this upper corner. Grab. As long as that stays perpendicular and doesn't try to do a weird angle. And you can obviously do these as individual steps, but I mean, if you're doing the same thing to everybody all at once, you know, keeps my timeline from being full of stuff that I don't want. So drag that. That's the wrong tool. I want the arrow. There we go. Whoa, wait a minute. I specifically chose filleting. Why is it not filleting? Full round. Wait a minute. What's full round? Whoa. Oh, that's interesting. So there's a new tool in here for doing full round. Oh, look at that. That's fancy. Ah, hit Shift and see if I can select more than one. Control? Oh, Control is the button. The problem is getting this thing to highlight the right part. Ah, 2 errors. No! Lost the tool. Okay, wait a minute. This will do what I want it to. It's just interesting the way I have to full round fillet. Then I have to select. No. I want these edges there, like that. And then if I hit Control, I want these edges. Aha! That's cool. Cool new tool. Neat. Nope. Oh, I did select the right one, but it just... Okay, hold on. There's a lot of pressure to select the proper face. Oh yeah, if it gets sort of jumpy and I can't select the right thing, if I click and hold click, it'll show me a list of the things that are in that area to select. There. That's a fancy tool. Look at that. Neat. Okay, and because this thing is acrylic, none of these edges are so hard, so I need to kind of soften everything up. So the entire run of the top here, I'm going to need to have a fillet on it, not a full round. This whole, the entire thing, just all of these faces. Actually, before I do that, I should probably do these outer ones. These are given a slightly more rounded edge. We don't need to look at the sketch anymore, so I'm actually going to unview the sketch so that we're just working on this. Technically, this is all we would need in order to plan for where this reservoir is supposed to go. We're not going to do a whole lot else to this. I'm going to round the edges, and then maybe we'll put the ports where the ports are, and that'll be about it. So let me fillet these guys. No, not full round. Now that I've selected that, it's like all it wants me to do with the tool is use full round. Use it once and it just is like, is that what you want this time? Same thing as usual? No. No, I wanted that once. Okay, these are coming in round. I wonder why the other ones weren't. They looked like they were doing a chamfer on it instead of a fillet. Weird. We'll do a small one. Let's just do 2 millimeters. There we go. It softens that up a little bit. And then I guess we'll do the outer edge now. These are of course formed by cutting the entire face at that depth, so they don't have, yeah, there's no like rounding at the bottom there to give it strength. It's just the same sheet of acrylic that the whole face is made out of. So now I could model this whole thing. I don't really think I want to go that far. I don't really want to go that far. We've got the thing sitting in front of us. We can kind of plan it out that way. All I want to do is be able to mount these tabs up somewhere. Yeah, so we may leave it at this, and I'll just soften the outer edges and we'll call it done. And it'll look like metal in the CAD program, but we'll know it's hollow. How much did that select? Not the whole thing. At the bottom. Outer edges. On both sides, I think. This is a lot of stuff for this thing to handle. And then I click off once and it's like, nope, nope, you didn't want to select anything. I've done that before where you spend 10 minutes highlighting all the edges that you want to alter, and then it clicks somewhere weird and it all just goes away. All right, everybody gets a 0.5 millimeter, 0.5. Everybody gets a 0.5 millimeter, and now your thing looks like some kind of a very technical build thing. It looks more professional because of these tiny little chamfers. Although I think might be larger of a chamfer on this thing. Like this gets in a particularly large one, as opposed to this. Oh, so maybe I messed up. What I could do is jump for, well, if I jump a little earlier, I don't think that's going to work. And then these are actually not chamfered. So, okay, so the whole step that I just did was totally useless. Control Z that. Because these are sharp, but then this whole bottom piece is given its own thing. So going back to, no, the full rounds we keep. These, I'm going to add this and this on both ends. Does that look like, that doesn't really look like the right thing. What does it look like? See, it's like the whole thing gets... Except this doesn't have a chamfer on it. Why are my fingernails so gross? Man, I need to like really wash my hands before stream, don't I? I've got like curry powder in my nails. This one's sharp, but this one is rounded. So it is actually very close to what I have already. That's pretty much what we already have. Where it has kind of this weird swoopy cut in it. What do you guys think? Is that the right thing? Looks like it. Not like the manufacturer can come in here and weigh in on it because they don't frickin' exist anymore. Unless this is Alpha Cool. That makes me wonder. Hold on, let's just quickly look at, see if we can find it. Alpha Cool's website. Alpha Cool's a German company, I believe, and they make all kinds of neat water cooling stuff in an era when water cooling is starting to become unfashionable. It would tickle me pink to have like everything on a rack and have all that stuff water cooled so that when you push the rack in, the two connectors on the back would snap in and it would get like a larger water system. That's okay. All right, Gamer. Tech Hub. Ah, do I have to put in a model number to get to it? Utilizing your 3D viewer center, designing a cooling system entirely on your own. CPU config, user manuals. I think they changed their website, so we actually have to put in a model. Let's just look up Alpha Cool reservoirs. They've got the big sphere, which would have been hilarious to get. But I'm wondering if they make this weird one that I have, or if this is just some other random company that glued some acrylic together and decided to sell it on Amazon. I'm starting to believe that that's what I have. It's just something that somebody just sort of threw together. The ice ball is hilarious. I would love a big circular reservoir. It's just so weird. I do have some 5 1/4 drive bay reservoirs, but they're not good. They're kind of bleh. And since the company was pulled from Amazon because it's one of those rando ones, I don't have any information about this reservoir that I bought. I can look. I don't even know when the sale occurred. I don't know how I could find it. And I don't keep those Amazon emails. I get rid of them because they take up my whole inbox. You can't sign out of those. They always deliver them. Yeah, I don't. Okay, so I don't think it's an Alpha Cool thing. And if it was, they certainly have cleaned all the skeletons out of their closet. And I can't find it. Okay. So yeah, we're doing the right thing by modeling it. A lot of effort to go through for something so stupid. but whatever. Whatever. Okay, so this is enough that I can pull it into the main thing. I could do an additional sketch to locate all of the holes on it, but I've got the thing sitting in front of me and I know where they approximately are going. We're not fully planning out this computer in CAD. We are locating representative shapes that will then get a 3D print, and that will mount it onto the thing. But then from there, I'll plan in the real world, out here in meat space, I will plan where the various accoutrements hook up and stuff. So let's save that. Actually, wait. My favorite menu of all of them in Fusion that you guys won't be able to see when I hit A because it's going to come in at the side of the screen. The appearance menu. I love me the appearance menu. The appearance menu allows you to be vain and make your stuff look cool. For me, it doesn't matter what it looks like in the render, but when you select appearances here, it sort of links the simplistic appearance to a much more complicated one that'll go into the actual rendering tool and into all the ray tracing and stuff and the material texturing and whatnot. That'll give you like a really nice render of what you're going to build if you do everything properly, but I don't. So I'm going to look for some kind of a plastic and call it clear and call it a day. Do I have anything in my own personal appearances? Carbon fiber, no. Paint, plastic, transparent, acrylic, clear-ish, perfect. So again, I just do this so that the material in Fusion looks right. And you can double click on these and alter them in any which way. The advanced menu gets pretty crazy with relief pattern, cutout, advanced highlight control, all kinds of crazy stuff. I don't care. All I'm doing is just dragging and dropping this on there. And now it is too clear. I think it's maybe a little too clear. I don't know what happened there. Let's Control Z on that appearance and turn it back into its sort of proto metal, because that was a little bit much. Go back to the appearance menu and see where we went wrong. The clear-ish, maybe opaque. No, opaque plastic. So I'm going to alter clearish. Is it the refractive index? Glass and diamond. I think we're in advance. Huh. Oh, it's because in this environment, in River Rubicon, which is what this dark mode color scheme is, inside of River Rubicon, this material doesn't quite look the way that it normally does. It does a weird thing inside of here. All right, so I'm not going to mess with this then. Yeah, because we're not going to be able to get... Oh, look at that. It totally ruined it. Which one is it? Refractive index or is it absorption distance? I don't know. I'm gonna stop messing with it though. Let's just get out of here. It'll just look like metal in our rendering then. It'll be shiny like metal, but we'll know it's plastic in our heart of hearts. Okay, whatever. Save this. Get away from it. We're done. We go back to the wall PC layout, and now I can go back to my browser here and just drag and drop our new thing into. Well, actually, before we do that, I want to go before my step here, before the positioning step, and then drag and drop this into the drawing, the render or whatever. And then we just need to give it a rough position. We'll figure out how to orient the rest of it later. We'll just put it up here, click OK, and then we'll turn time back forward to the, turn time forward from the timeline, double click in the, whatever it is, the locking position step, and now we can move it around freely. Let's go here, move copy. All right, so now where do I want this thing? Looks like it slots in just perfectly right here. And I want it to be up towards the top. I want this to be the tallest thing in the build. Here's a little problem. So somehow Palpatine is returned. I guess the best way we can do this is by positioning it like this, so that we've got the inlet here on these two. We got the inlet coming in here, and then this will go to the reservoir. Because that way I have, well, the return from the processor is going to be in a weird spot. All right, we need to think about this a little bit more. See, I'll position this just roughly around here. We'll just put it there. Yeah, I'll have two chasms, two open things, and I want things to go in order so that the topmost thing holding water is this. so that that's where bubbles go. You guys can't see what I'm doing. Okay, hold on. Frame. Where'd that frame go? There. Okay. Yeah, so all right, so if I take a screenshot of this, take it right there and take a screenshot. We'll just I can sketch for you guys in Paint. It'll make more sense. Okay, hold on. Snipping tool. Snippy. Snip. Like that. And then we can go to MS Paint. Let's open more programs, just what my computer would love. So the loop, right? Why is this not letting me? Oh, I guess MS Paint doesn't really let me drag and navigate the way I want to. So the pump is the lowest thing in the entire system, which means that it will always be pumping water unless something goes catastrophically wrong. From the pump, we have, well, I'm not going to do cool and warm watercolors. I'll just do a slightly light thing. From there, we've got this going out, and the first possible easiest place to go is into the graphics card. So from there, it goes into the graphics card or something else in this area. I might put the little distribution block here. I don't think that'll fit, but it would have to be in a different spot. But the distribution block that takes the tubes to the other little water-cooled things that I have in this setup. So we don't really need to consider that. We could plumb that in basically anywhere. This is actually in a top and bottom configuration, so it's like this instead of to the side. And then there's an elbow here that connects it to the MOSFET cooling. So technically this is going to be a high spot and could potentially get bubbles in it unless I reorient some of the stuff in this area, because the natural path for this stuff would be straight over to here, which can be done because I don't have a card sitting in here. It's just a cable that goes down and under the graphics card and plugs in down here. So if that goes up like that, that goes over here, that represents kind of a bad thing. It's a little bit of like a dip, but then this would have to come out of here somehow. And so maybe it could go down and over. I don't know. It would have to go above everything else and then duck down and under there, where it would then not be able to go into that. It wouldn't go into that reservoir yet. Unless I wanted that reservoir to be the first step for going over to these, it would probably be better if, well, I guess take it out from there. If I could put these in the other way around, maybe I could flip the CPU cooler upside down so that the holes are here and here, and then that gets an elbow to the I made my own MOSFET cooler, and we actually we didn't powder coat it, we actually nickel plated it on our own. Here, you guys need to move. I mean, while I'm building this thing, I need to consider that I am actually pulling everything apart on it as well, and cleaning it out, because there's some nasty stuff in the water cooling system right now. But if I, oh, that was Control Z in OBS. Go back over there. No, that'll cover a chat message if I do it that way. Well, I could also just put myself on top of chat. Oh, that's removing the wrong thing. Put myself all the way up here. There we go. Cool. All right. Anyway, so of course now it looks like I'm looking up into the sky. It doesn't look like I'm actually looking at the thing that I'm working on because the monitor is up. I don't know if that elbow will actually fit if I reverse this. I don't know how fully reversible this thing is. And I want to keep water flow at a maximum, so all right. But then that would potentially, if this goes this way, that of course means that any bubbles are going to pool at the top of this thing. Well, then that could make it out this way. And if it goes that way, then it could go, it would have to dip down to get to this thing. Unless I keep this up like that and somehow plumb that in there. That would mean flipping it over. If I flip it over, that means I've got a potential inlet there, but it's too high. So that would need to, man, this is complicated. Dip down, go in there. So then this becomes a high spot. And then from here, it could go, ugh. But if I'm going in the side here, that means the other side hole's on this side. And I can't go like over to this. Or if it goes, this goes all the way down and to there, and then that goes there, and then this goes in here in the side, and then from there we go down into this reservoir. So it's just, it just makes that a big tall reservoir. I don't know. So this up to here, this up to here, this would then go into here, or it could go directly over to here. That would be the return path. So water is flowing this way. And then it would have to go from here. So down there would have to meet up with this stuff in a right angle. And then maybe if I could swing that, this could go there, and then this can go that way. And the water path is this way. So there would be a high spot here that could potentially gather too much air. High spot in this cooler as well. But then this path is simple again. I think that's the way that I have to do it, which means I unfortunately have to jump down like that. I don't want that. That reservoir is still the tallest position in the whole place. And if I keep things open enough, well, then bubbles up here get into the system and they would be all up in the top of this radiator, which would be very annoying indeed. So this is not the best way to do it. I would need to feed in at the bottom of the radiators. Unless I made this a vertical PC, in which case I could have that at the very, no, I'm not going to do vertical. No, this is still the best way. I think if I improve the flow of everything, I think it'll be able to blow bubbles out. Maybe. Or if I do this in the horizontal, no, that still doesn't work. That still doesn't work. It should be, really technically it should return through these, going upwards. If I did like out here into these, I don't know if that's ideal, into this, and then out there, into this, well, that's not really gonna, then I'd have trouble with, I don't know. Yeah, I remember this layout kind of sucks. Now, in terms of like what's cool, the orientation of your devices in your system doesn't really matter that much because the water is just going to all hold the energy of everything. It's hard to change the temperature of water, and you're cycling it so much that it's not really going to affect your individual device temperatures. You will have a significant amount of heat soak that you can initially put into the system until everything gets to sort of a nominal temperature. But then beyond that, everything is going to be about at the same temp. Obviously, if you really start hammering on the graphics card, your water is going to heat up and everybody else has to deal with it. I don't think there's really much else I can do because those radiators have to be like this so that water goes in one side, water comes out the other. If I put the power supply above the radiators and had these down low, maybe that would keep them from holding on. May I make a suggestion? I guess, yeah, sure. Just use a large screw and screw it to the wall, nothing fancy. No. What? No, already have this, right? That's all this. I have this board. I'm just going to attach everything to that board. Then I can build it off of the wall and then put it up on the wall. And then I can move it if I need to or work on it elsewhere. Why would I just put things directly to the wall? It's weird. It's a strange thing. I feel like this orientation is a little bit wrong. Well, I guess you could think of it like looking down at the desk where everything's mounted. No, it's going to be up on the wall and it's going to be a thing. It's going to be like a whole case like this. All I need to do, the only thing additional that I need to do in order to make this work is to 3D print stuff that'll mount it to that board. That's it. I have 2 computers nailed to the wall. They look fine. However, you do things in a professional manner. Well, that's what we do here. Plus, I've already got all this stuff. Although this is going to be a challenge because the water cooling fittings barely fit with the height of the processor on this thing. It barely fits in. So I don't know if I'm going to do tubes on top of that, or if I need to remove the gratings that I put inside of these things. But yeah, this will get like brackets to mount it to the big board here. I'll probably do 3 bolts on each side, and then that'll mount it, and I'll have riv nuts. I am discovering the wonders of riv nutting. I have post riv nut clarity. These riv nuts will fit inside of those inch-spaced holes and give me a nice 4mm bolt that I can bolt onto, and it'll hold all the weight of the computer stuff up. So it'll be slightly modular. Everybody will be happy. My only problem is the size of the pump that goes into this thing. It's kind of annoying. I want to have the nice pump though, and I want to keep it at the lowest point of the computer so that it is submerged. These EKWB reservoir/pump holders are not the best for designing your system with regards to boobells getting everywhere. So that'll go there. There's space for wiring right here. I can lash the wires down to the surface down here, and I'll have just things that I can screw into from the front, so I don't have to get behind this thing with the nut. I don't have to hold a nut up to the back of it, and then they don't get loose over time. It'll just be hex bolts that go into this thing. That's the plan. That's sort of the original plan. I don't really, again, I'm not buying a new radiator, so I've got to use the ones that I have. So the ones that I have are these 2 Alpha Cool radiators that have they're narrow, they're wide, they're narrow, and they take a small fan, and so they're a little bit loud. All 6 of those fans spooling up makes quite a bit of noise. But as long as I give them enough free space, they shouldn't make as much whooshing noises as they do right now. I wanted to make sure, because right now, when this thing gathers bubbles in the way that it's oriented right now, which is this thing on its side, the bubbles actually gather in, which one? It sits like this on the desk. And so bubbles will gather in this reservoir, and they're unable to get out of it because there's not enough water flow to push the bubbles to the reservoir. So I want there to be enough flow so that we can push bubbles into this reservoir up top. And the only way that I can think to have it work properly is have these be horizontal like they are. Moving them down though, if I move them down so that this is still the top piece, that might be the way to do it. I might reverse these. Take this. Oh, see this, in this step, it's not in position because for some reason it, okay. Where did that move then? Wait a minute. Oh, see, it wants me to lock the position in over here. I don't want that. All right, Control Z. Until it doesn't ask me to lock in position, then I need to double click the lock in step. Now I'm free to move this thing. What the? No, I clicked something wrong. Control Z. Ah, Jesus, come on, program. Okay. Everybody stay still. Don't disturb the program. Double click here. Now I'm in this step. Now I can click move. Just sort of shuffle this thing into place up here. All right. So why is it still, okay, we weren't in that step. Did it kick us out? Maybe it kicked us out of that step. We're in the step. It says finish position up there. I click out this way, right click on this thing, click move. We're still in the step. Okay. I don't know what was going on there. It was like kicking us out of the step. Now I can just put this thing roughly in place. Right click, not double click. Did I double? I must have double clicked then. Okay, finish position. Well, actually, we don't want to finish position. We're not done yet. I'm going to reverse these two and see if they fit. That's going to make it a little tight, though. I hate that. I hate that. I don't like that. I was thinking what I could do is put the radiators down here and then have the power supply in the upper right, which will be kind of annoying because where I sit on the desk, it's going to be all fans in my face. That'll be all fans, just all right in my face. But like, I don't see it going down any other way. Because this is the best orientation for all of the cables to exit out the left-hand side of the panels. The reservoir is in a decent spot for the pump reservoir, the bottom one. Obviously, I could get a larger reservoir and that would be awesome and it would fit really nicely and look cool, but I'm not buying stuff. This is the reservoir that I have. Actually, I don't know if those are available anymore. If you can buy those EKWV ones, I could maybe go to Micro Center and find it. Still on the shelves. Feels weird to put the power supply all the way up here. And then where would Boobel's pool? The pool of Boobel's would be in a weird spot. But basically what I'm thinking is like a vertical reservoir with this and these two radiators all coupled together. If I did that and then had the return, but then that would put a hole up here where it would potentially take on air. That's why I want to move this down. All right, so I'm still in the move step. I want to move these two. Just roughing out the stuff. I hate how when I move it, all the screws don't move with it, but the screws aren't visible on this part. Move this. You know. Bonk. Could do that. Think about that. Think about that. Think about that. Just think about that. Oh yeah, it doesn't have to attach to those. I've got all these on one side. That's right. And then the outlet is here. But then that would be, this would be more like a drain line. It would have to, because then it could permanently get water, like a bubble in it. It wouldn't be able to leave. Let's move the power supply up top. Move copy. My floppy. Well, it wouldn't look very fancy like that, because it would be like, look at my power supply. But I guess that could also work. If I move those inward where the pump is and have the radiators at the very bottom, then there would be a big blank space over here. We can move them this way, and then I don't want, see this pump I don't want to have up. I want it to be the lowest thing here, because if a bubble gets into your pump, it just makes swooshing noises infinitely. Yeah, I don't know. The way we had it before, I think, was probably the best way to do it. It's just going to be a little bit difficult for me to figure out where all of this stuff is going. Because you can use these front holes, you can use these side holes. That might let me plumb things a little bit more easily. But having that vertically means that it'll capture bubbles up top, and I don't think I want that. I can do one radiator low, put a tube in between them, and put the power supply in there. Radiator, power supply, radiator. It's kind of how the other one was anyway. It's like staging all this stuff. That, I think, is the best way to do it in terms of like filling the space and making it look nice. Just to humor a weirdo. It's so much easier to do this when you actually just click on the thing itself. Like you click on the thing in the tree, everything moves around much more easily. Because sometimes there's components and stuff that you don't have in view on that assembly. How in the world would that... wait a minute. How would that plumb... It would be very tough to get this into everybody else. It would have to go up to like there, and then that one would have to go up to there, and it would just be this weird interstitial step where one of them gets pumped and the other one gets returns. I don't know. I'm getting creative with it. I mean, if I put this vertically in this spot right here, it wouldn't really solve anything. It would just look funny. I don't think I want to do that. Yeah, it's going to have to be this. I don't think there's any other choice. That's just going to make plumbing this thing in a little bit weirder. Now, I could min-max it and move these down to where I get just a little bit more space, but like this versus this, I don't know. And then, oops. That to go directly into the radiators as a return. That would be better as a return, but I don't know if that would work with the pump. Because if that goes down to the pump and then the pump goes over, so it would be all on this side. Okay, so let me see here. I have to use the snipping tool to put it into paint so that I can sketch on top of it. Oh wait, this is the same layout as I had before. Why am I snipping it? I'm using everything at my disposal right now. Yeah, same thing. Duh. Okay, so pencil. If this returns directly into the reservoir, that's the way I have it oriented right now. I've got 2 ports here, and so this would have to go into the top port. But then that's coming up from everybody else. How, let's see, that would have to be a return. And then down here would that go to the pump? So that the CPU comes down and over into there, and then this goes down to here, while this comes out and goes back into the rest of the system. That is convoluted. It makes this a giant reservoir that happens to have fans on it. And when air pools on this thing, it'll be up here and half in my radiator, which I don't like. But that may be the only choice that I have. Unless I was to do something crazy. Unless I use that specifically to catch bubbles, and I do something like CPU goes into this thing, and then this has like a rise in it, and that goes down to the reservoir. Because then bubbles presumably would get caught here and not propagate through the rest of the system. But then if I do get bubbles up here in this radiator, I wouldn't really know about it, because they wouldn't really be able to be pushed horizontal or pushed down into the rest of the system, unless we had an incredible amount of water flow. It's better if this goes this way through here. If we go up and out, down, out. I don't think I have much choice of how this thing works. It's just going to have to be like a crisscross applesauce weirdo thing. Yeah, sure. It's a shame because it would have been nice to have a nice elegant solution for this thing. But yeah. Move everything over to the right, move it vertical. Vertical is bad because then this becomes two big dips that the stuff has to do. And if you get a bubble at the beginning of the system, it would have to go all the way to the bottom and then come back up. That's what I'm running into with the way I've oriented them on my current computer. Now, obviously, everything in this system would benefit from being flat if I had ports on the other side of the radiators. The Alpha Cool radiator doesn't have ports on the other side. If it had ports on the other side, everything could be horizontal and the bubbles would go to the top of it and get ushered around by the flow and then find their way further up. That would be the best way to do this. But I don't have that luxury with this. Unfortunately, if we have the radiator facing downwards, that means the two ports go downwards. So the bubble goes up, it gets ushered around, and then it just pools at the other side of the radiator, unless there's a super high amount of flow. Can you just plug the ones in the front? I got an A-Cool 480 millimeter rads. They've got holes on both sides. Only one side on these. These are cheap Alpha Cool ones. Yeah, these only have one side. It would be nice if there were holes all over this thing and then I could reorient the radiators to work a little different. Yeah, rip. I don't see too many options on this. I think I'm kind of stuck with this way. I don't know if this is going to effectively catch boobels. I think maybe if I allow the reservoir to do its like swirly stuff, that might help. So if I have like the inlet on one of these things and it does its little swirliness in there, then that would be good, you know, because I kind of want it to be like this, with this being above everybody else. But if I do that, this going into the radiator going down would mean that bubbles are going to pool in the radiators more easily, and I want them to clear out more easily. I'm just going to have a couple dips in the system. I didn't expect the my like horizontal computery thing here to take up the entire side of the wall control panel. The only other way that I could think to get out of this is if I do a vertical panel on the wall, and I don't know if I have room in that space. That space is perfect for a horizontal panel. This is basically my desk sitting up against the wall, and to the right is the wall. So this thing, to the right of the desktop, you have just wall. So I can just put the PC right there, and it'll look like a customer display, like a store display. All right, well, I got a lot of stuff to think about. This has been a 4-hour session of just brainstorming, so I feel like we're in a pretty decent place. We did a couple modeling things here just to get sort of a form built, and from there, it's just the same process of extruding sketches until I have the plastic that I'm going to 3D print. So I've got an idea of where this is going. I need to kind of sleep on this and figure out what exactly I want to do in terms of alteration and reprinting. That's neat. I had the exact reservoir from Swift Tech. Hold on, can we find a 3D model of this stupid thing? Was it Swift Tech? Yeah, because this has just been kicking around the water cooling bin, so I figured I'd put it to good use because my current computer, in the way that it sits, if we look at, whoa, too many things at once. If we look at the way my computer currently sits, it looks like this. And so I've got the GPU and the CPU and all that stuff up above, and then we sort of stapled this ROV to the bottom of it, this 3D printed thing that kind of holds the radiators underneath. The radiators and stuff were supposed to go above. That was really where they're supposed to go, but we never built that computer. So this is what I have right now, and it sits on its side. It actually sits on this side so that all of the stuff pools up on a piece of clear tubing on the back of these radiators. This tube right here fills up with air over time until I have a big boobel in the whole thing and I have to like fish it out. It's really bad. So I wanted to correct that. I wanted the bubbles to find their way out of my equipment more easily. And while I'm doing it, I'll clean them out too, because I used some of that opaque water stuff, and it like clumped up and became a weird like thing that's caught in all my radiator grills. The water is still extremely effective in cooling everything. It's just some weird stuff has happened in that water. I tried to flush the system. I didn't end up getting that stuff out. So yeah, this is going to be a little bit of an improvement. It's still going to be kind of nasty inside of here, but yeah. But yeah, these things like the CPU cooler are meant to sit horizontally so that the bubble goes up and it hits your stuff, but then the flow of the water is going to push it around the system until it finds a way to go further upwards. That's really the way they're supposed to be designed. Yeah, SwiftTech, let's look that up. Let's double check that. Dun, 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 dun. Do I need this anymore? No, this is for that switch. SwiftTech. Whoa, in all in caps. Reservoirs. Do they still sell it is the question. Because the Amazon listing is gone. Oh, there it is. Micres. So it is meant to be used on the sides here. Huh. I don't have the bracket anymore. They came with a little metal bracket so you could mount it anywhere you want. Yeah, these are like if you're water cooling your micro ATX. You go in this and down there. In and down. In and out. Any way, anything that gets the bubbles out of the system, huh? Okay, so SwiftTech Micro Res. grabcad.com. I can't believe you have the same reservoir. It's such a weird purchase too. What did it cost me? I don't remember. 33. I don't think it was $33. Oh, this is the one with body painting ads on it. So we got to be careful what's actually shown on camera, or else chat might see a boobie and it'll get me banned permanently and probably thrown in prison. There really isn't anything SwiftTech here, huh? SLI Crossfire, weird. Yep, no micro res. Various 280 rads. MCP. David Bromstad. I don't know who the fuck that is. Who the hell? I don't care. Is it a component in this? Huh? Huh? Where's the reservoir? Ah, no, it's not. They used a different one. They used the combo. The reason I like this is because it's a separate reservoir, and so this can be my bubble trap instead of using a combo reservoir pump. Like the EKWB thing will just routinely suck up like bubbles because it's so there's so little area for the water inside that pump, when it goes full speed, it will cause a divot in the water itself and pull in a vortex into itself, and then those bubbles stick around inside of your reservoir for a long time. So I wanted to have something up top that's going to catch all those little bubbles so that this can be completely filled with water, and then there's no problem with a sudden surge of flow. The only additional problem to that is that I want to keep bubbles out of my radiators too, and the radiators are unfortunately a non-negotiable part of this build. They were kind of expensive and I don't have any money, so I'm not going to buy a new 140 millimeter fan radiator to go in here as one big piece. It'll still be two smaller pieces that will be with loud fans on it. That'll do all my cooling for me. But yeah, in order to hook up the SwiftTech thing, I'm gonna have to put it in a weird orientation, or have like a dip tube, have a tube that's gonna go like beep. And so I guess that should hopefully keep bubbles from making it into the radiators. But if one does, it won't really have any incentive to leave unless there's high enough flow. So it's a little concerning. If I put this like this, and then that goes to the reservoir or to the radiator, then if there's air in here, enough of it, then I'll know it's also propagated into the radiator, but I'll still be able to get it out because it'll seek the taller thing. I don't know. That's only if they're coming back this way. That's tough. You know, getting one of these systems designed right, I think maybe most of them just rely on the pump's ability to like push a huge volume of stuff. What's that? 3D warehouse SketchUp, huh? You know what? Our model is fine. One thing I found on this thing is, why not? Because you probably didn't see this earlier, is that, look at this. Those are not lined up. That is crooked. They do not line up. These do kind of. These kind of do, but they're like a couple millimeters below the other one. It's a nightmare. Here, let's look at the SketchUp. I don't know if I can download it. I don't want to sign in. I don't want to sign in. I don't care. Our model's fine. This would be nice to get into there though, and get the right clear settings on it. But I can't believe you found a model that easily. You use 3D Warehouse. I was looking at GrabCAD and looking at like AlphaCool's site and stuff. No, you definitely, no, you found a model. Like, that's awesome. We've already been through an entire stream where I sort of made a near enough as makes no difference version of it. So it could have saved us a bunch of time a while ago, but it's okay. I'm just having the debate with myself about how I'm going to plumb this in reasonably and have it be the tallest thing in here. Have it up at the top so that it collects all my bugles properly. All right, anyway, I'm gonna have to do some soul searching for that. So I think I'm gonna call it here because I don't like to draw out the stream in any way. The things that we need to still do, that I need to still do, is obviously the CAD modeling, maybe make some 3D solids on this thing that I can print and get to like printing these things and see what kind of standoffs are gonna look like. And but then with other projects, I need to tune synthesizers. You know, but bother, you don't necessarily need to tune it. Just no, I do need to tune it because I built all these modules. I need to make sure they actually work before I start using them in non sequitur ways that I would on a modular synthesizer. I need to make sure that the basis of functionality is there. So if I do something wrong and no sound comes out, I'm not doing something right and thinking that sound isn't coming out because I did something wrong. Do you still use SketchUp? I never used SketchUp. I didn't do CAD when SketchUp was big. I've always been an AutoCAD user. I learned freshman year of college a million years ago, and then didn't do anything with CAD. I didn't interact with CAD for a long time. And then I used Eagle CAD to make circuit boards. And then Eagle was bought by Fusion Team, and I said, well, what do I do? So there's a free version of Fusion 360, this program. That was around when I bought a 3D printer. That was when I was streaming. I always told chat, I hate 3D printers. We don't even have 2D printers that work properly. And you're asking for another dimension. Well, they're kind of a solved thing now, right? You can just go and get a Bamboo Labs printer. But at that era, I started using Fusion 360 and sort of all of the neurons were forming around doing CAD in Fusion. I tried Rhino a little bit and I tried some other CADs and they just didn't click with me. The method of sketch, extrude, chamfer was sort of etched in my sort of workflow. So that's what I ended up using. I haven't in a very long time. Once it moved to a browser-based app, I gave up. I used it as a browser-based app for some stuff, and I just didn't. Again, it just didn't really click with me. I didn't like SketchUp. So the Fusion way of doing things, and the fact that Fusion 360 exists, and I can make models that look this pretty while I'm browsing through them, and they have that minimal shading and highlighting. As an engineering drawing, and also as somebody who purveys in the visual medium, Twitch is a visual and audio medium. I need to play to the nines in it, so I can have things that look nice and actually, function really well and looks good on camera, and also allows me to design, allows me to actually engineer stuff. I'm trying to control scroll on my. I was control scrolling on my OBS window. I didn't know which one was actually selected in. So what this is doing is just taking components of another computer and stapling them up onto the wall. It's essentially what Last Miles described, except that I am deciding to have this wall control panel as like a middleman that I can mount things to a la a pegboard, but since it is a sheet of metal, I can use riv nuts on it and have the ability to modularly remove stuff and put it back in. Obviously, the water cooling makes it so that's not really the case. I probably have to remove the same thing all at once. I want to do this well, and I want to make it look good, and I want to feel good about what I'm building. So I'm doing it the right way, and there's a lot of work to do. Because whenever I decide to do a project, it's always so much work. Why is it always so much work? It's because I do this to myself. I'm going to spend some time modeling this thing or tuning synthesizers or something. We're going to be back on Tuesday. I don't know what we'll work on. If we're doing CAD again, I don't know if we will. We'll do another AutoCAD ad. That'll get my obligation done for the license that I have, because I have a pretty featureful license thanks to AutoCAD sponsoring. Well, they're not sponsoring me to say anything. They just give me the software, assuming I do these hashtag AutoCAD ads every couple months, 2 of them for every 3 months, right? So you may notice a bias, and you may notice a capability that does not exist in the free software. I still do believe that it is a very good piece of software. I'm not paid to say that. They would have to pay me a lot more, but it's cool that they sponsor this copy of software so that I can actually use it here on stream effectively. That's sort of the deal, and so we're going to continue to honor our deal. But know that they are not swaying my opinion on the piece of software. I like it for what it is already as an engineer. So, all right, anyway. AutoCAD, hashtag AutoCAD stream. Here is the end card. I think I already set it up. It has all of my social media, the non-social media presence that I have. Fusion's my go-to now, but I wish there was something close to Fusion that would work in Linux. Yeah, me too. I actually completely and 100% agree with you on that. My CNC box runs Linux and would love to be able to do light modeling on it without also needing a Windows box. Yeah, I have the handheld, the Legion Go machine, and I put, instead of running Windows 11, which is what they wanted to do with that thing, I put KDE on it, and it just destroys everything. It's amazing. I would love to do an AutoCAD stream from the handheld, and I could probably use their browser features. If the browser features are not on the free version, I won't do that, because I want to keep the level of stuff that I do in parallel with the features of the free version of Fusion 360, so that I'm not doing something so easily that somebody who looks at what I'm doing and goes, that's cool that he's doing that, I should check out Fusion 360. And it's like, bam, oh, I can't do that. I have to spend $350 a month to do that one little thing. I would rather Fusion get the business of the person who uses it in the same way I do, with the same features, and then they suddenly make a business and they go, oh my God, we're making more than $10,000 a year. I need to buy my copy of Fusion 360. That's what I want. That's the business I want to bring to them. Not forcing somebody in a corner to pay for a feature that they need. None of that nobody knows what you're talking about, bother. But if they did get it running on Linux, I would love to do like a handheld stream where I get the full featured Fusion working on it. And I can still, I guess, try. There are some ways to wiggle your way into getting Fusion to work on Linux, but I think none of them are sort of great. All right, so still working on this, still working on Burn the Subs, still working on synthesizers. I have too much to do, too little time to do it in. The end card with all of my information is here. We will be back on Tuesday. I'll be back Tuesday, and we'll work on something in sort of the grand list of projects that I need to desperately get to. I found a project to get running through Wine. It functions, but still like hot garbage. Yeah, and then keeping up with the version updates. The demand for Linux hopefully will grow, because it really is, Fusion is the only thing that's keeping me in Windows right now. I could do all of the microcontroller stuff to my heart's content. I can open a web browser and browse Reddit. What else do I do with a computer these days? My taxes? I can do all of that on Linux just fine, and not have a constant home phoning machine running in the background processes. It's not going to tell, hey, Bill Gates, hey, look at what he's clicking on now. I hate that shit. All right, anyway, what a sub. localized entirely within the stream. Fadanon, thank you for the 78 months. I heard Linux from the ether and came in here to listen. Oh God, it's like the Terry Crews bot that we got. I said something akin to the Office linebacker commercials, and then suddenly a Terry Crews account, a similar account, shows up in chat. That was a tier 3, by the way. You know, I said it before, Fat. I hope that's a misclick, but thank you for showing up when Linux is mentioned. Why not because subbing for 4 months? Hey, why not because? Thank you. Appreciate that very much. Yeah, we're talking about Linux because I really want, you know, Fusion 360 running on Linux would be just amazing, right? And then that would pull me away from Windows, and I'd get that little gremlin in my computer that's sort of giving Bill Gates an impression of what I'm doing on my computer. Every single click is tracked these days, right? I could get that out of my computer, and then maybe my settings would be a little bit less cryptic. The settings menus that have gotten really convoluted in Windows and stuff, and old hardware support, microcontroller support, LED lighting support, all that stuff. 99% of the weird games that I play work perfect in Linux. I'm not like Sark. I'm not playing like old school weird Windows games. Although it would be interesting to know if Jedi Knight 2 would work in Linux. But it's not like I couldn't run an entire virtual machine to do that with the hardware that I have. So yeah, anyway, I'm not moving yet. We're going to get Firefox in this computer and we'll continue to use Windows 10, even though Fusion is going to stop supporting Windows 10. It'll still work for a time until I'm absolutely forced up against the wall to switch. I will try to remain with what I have. All right, everybody, your orders are to have a good weekend. I hope you all have fun. Check me out on Fusion 360. No, check me out in Discord. ProtonDB for like an old machine, yeah. I could get like in my old emulate an old machine, and then I could go back and play Jedi Knight 2 again. I don't know, I didn't get many people for those game streams, so I don't know what I'm going to do one again. But I will catch you guys on the other side of this weekend. Until then, touch grass. I'm going to go walk my dog. Have fun. Where's the, oh.